Chapter 5586. Duan Muyu felt a sweetness in her heart, and a faint smile appeared on her face. If you want me to be with you, just say it directly, no need to find excuses. Okay. Duan Muyu agreed readily. In fact, wasn't this the result she wanted? Lin Yi smiled slightly, and remembered that there was still a nascent soul stage sea beast inner core in his hand, so he handed it directly to Duan Muyu and said, "You keep this first, I'll find some nascent soul stage sea beast inner cores for you later." Duan Muyu did not stand on ceremony with Lin Yi, and directly took the inner core and put it away. This action revealed the intimacy between the two. By the way, you said that Jin Weifeng is hunting alone around here? Is he not related? After all, there are already nascent soul stage sea beasts here. Although it is only an early nascent soul stage sea beast, with Jin Weifeng's strength, it will be more troublesome to encounter it, right? Duan Muyu did not treat herself as an outsider, so she casually asked about Jin Weifeng's situation. There are many golden core stage sea beasts here, and nascent soul stage sea beasts are at most passing by. Lin Yi said with a smile, but Jin Weifeng's current position had exceeded the range of Lin Yi's divine sense. The distance between the two was already close to the limit of this range, and in order to rescue Duan Muyu, Lin Yi flew very far away, so he had not paid attention to Jin Weifeng's situation for a while. After identifying the direction, Lin Yi turned to Duan Muyu and said, "After what you said, I'm a little worried about Jin Weifeng. Let's go and take a look, it's in this direction." After speaking, Lin Yi urged the flying spirit beast to fly to the position where Jin Weifeng was before, and Duan Muyu flew side by side with Lin Yi. At this time, Lin Yi remembered that he had forgotten to exchange a mid-level flying spirit beast with the people of the Everyday and Everyday sect, but thinking that he still needed them to hunt sea beast inner cores in the future, forcibly snatching their flying spirit beast was not in line with the image of Jadian sect, so he did not dwell on this matter anymore. "Lin Yi, does your Green Cloud sect want to challenge for the position of the Big Four?" Duan Muyu, who was on the side, suddenly asked a rather unexpected question. Lin Yi chuckled and said, "You can tell? Is it that obvious?" "So it's true." Duan Muyu had a happy expression and said with a smile, "It's not that obvious. I just think that with you in the Green Cloud sect, if they don't even have the thought of challenging the Big Four, then they are too useless. In that case, I have to succeed in the challenge. Otherwise, I'll become a useless person like you said." Lin Yi said with a smile on his face. He was determined to get the top 4. Of course, he would not become the useless person that Duan Muyu said. "I believe that as long as you think about it, a seat in a mere Big Four is absolutely within your grasp. I just don't know which Big Four you pulled down." When Duan Muyu said this, he blinked his big eyes a few times and said, "Could it be our backer, the Heaven Awakening faction? The Shengguan clan has such a good relationship with you, it's definitely not them. Then the weakest one is our Heaven Awakening faction. Do you think I will challenge the Heaven Awakening faction?" Lin Yi turned his head to look at Duan Muyu. If Duan Muyu really thought so, then it would make Lin Yi feel strange. Duan Muyu squinted his eyes and showed a big smile, "Of course not. Even if it's for my sake, you will not challenge the Heaven Awakening faction. What's more, the Qinkuan sect and the Qingyun sect are obviously enemies. Your first choice is of course to challenge the Qinkuan sect and then take advantage of the situation to become the head of the Big Four." Hee hee. Lin Yi chuckled and did not say much. Since Duan Muyu knew him so well, there was really no need for him to say anything more. However, Lin Yi immediately frowned. After flying for such a while, he had already reached the range of his divine sense, but he did not find any trace of Jin Weifeng. Moreover, Lin Yi would not think that he was in the wrong place. After all, the body of the gold core stage sea beast that Jin Weifeng killed was still floating on the sea, being eaten by several other sea beasts. Did he go back to look for me? Lin Yi thought in his heart, and his divine sense swept to the place where he had been before, but still found nothing. Duan Muyu noticed that Lin Yi's face had changed a little, so he asked in a low voice, "Did I say something wrong? Did I make you unhappy?" Lin Yi relaxed his eyebrows and smiled, "No, what you said was what I was thinking. I am very happy that you can understand my thoughts. Just now, because I didn't find any trace of Jin Weifeng, he seems to have changed his position, so I was a little worried. It turns out to be like this, so Jin Weifeng was just hunting sea beasts around here? Duan Muyu stretched her neck and looked around, but she did not find anything. Lin Yi did not say anything. The range of his divine sense had already exceeded the visual range, and even divine sense could not find it. Of course, it was impossible to see it with Duan Muyu's eyes. Moreover, the surrounding sea was exactly the same. If one had a bad sense of direction, they would be completely lost after turning around. Duan Muyu looked around a few times and immediately gave up. If she kept looking, she felt that she would even forget which direction she came from. It's almost in the nearby sea. Let's continue to fly there for a while and see. After Lin Yi said, he continued to fly forward with Duan Muyu, and soon they arrived at the place where Jin Weifeng had hunted sea beasts. At this time, the body of the gold core stage sea beast had basically been eaten clean, and the remaining bones had sunk to the bottom of the sea. Only some faint red blood was left on the sea surface, and when the waves surged, it quickly disappeared. Duan Muyu's eyes were sharp, and she found the disappeared blood. She immediately pointed to the bottom and shouted, "Lin Yi, there should have been a battle here. I saw blood in the sea. It seems that Jin Weifeng was here not long ago." Yes, the blood was left by the sea beasts killed by Jin Weifeng. Lin Yi nodded in agreement and continued to focus on searching with divine sense. Duan Muyu's observation ability was indeed very strong, but it was a pity that it could not help Lin Yi. When it came to divine sense, Duan Muyu was far behind him. To find Jin Weifeng, Lin Yi still needed to do it himself. Soon Lin Yi found a clue. At the edge of the range of divine sense in the distance, there was another body of the gold core stage sea beast being eaten by sea beasts. It seemed that it had just been killed. Maybe it was done by Jin Weifeng, but Lin Yi did not find any trace of Jin Weifeng. Chapter 55-87. After a while, Lin Yi and Duan Muyu came to the sea. At this time, there was still a small part of the dead sea beast's body that had not been eaten. There were a total of 5 middle gold core stage sea beasts fighting for food, and there were other sea beasts gathering not far away. Lin Yi frowned again, and he had a bad feeling in his heart. Although Jin Weifeng was riding a high-quality flying spirit beast, judging from the time of death of the sea beast's body, it should not have been too long. Jin Weifeng should not have directly flown out of the range of Lin Yi's divine sense. Before Jin Weifeng hunted the gold core stage sea beast alone, he only did it in the nearby sea. After all, there was a fresh sea beast's body as bait. If he wanted to hunt the gold core stage sea beast that came to snatch food, it would only be more efficient than killing one and moving to another place. Although Duan Muyu did not have a strong divine sense like Lin Yi could find the sea beast's body from a distance. There was no need to ask to know that there were unknown means. Lin Yi still had a serious expression. Obviously, Jin Weifeng was probably in trouble, so Duan Muyu's pretty face also became solemn. On top of each flying spirit beast, there was a sea map. The range was only the coastal sea and the part of the coastal sea where the gold core stage sea beast was active. Their own flying spirit beast would also be shown on the sea map, so that the 10 elites who participated in the competition would not be lost in the endless sea. Now Duan Muyu opened the sea map on her flying spirit beast and looked at it carefully before saying, "Lin Yi, our position is already beyond the boundary of the sea map. If we go further, the probability of the Yuanying stage sea beast appearing will greatly increase." Did Jin Weifeng go there? Lin Yi shook his head slightly and said, "It's hard to say. Under normal circumstances, Jin Weifeng would not be like this. I just don't know what happened." The map on the flying spirit beasts was also a tool of the Archaic Alliance. Lin Yi had seen it before. It was similar to the GPS on mobile phones in the secular world. However, the flying spirit beasts on the map didn't show other people's flying spirit beasts. Otherwise, it would be much easier to find Jin Weifeng. Duan Muyu looked at the corpses of the sea beasts below and suddenly said, "Maybe I can find Jin Weifeng, but I need you to help me drive away the surrounding sea beasts." Lin Yi was slightly taken aback. He really didn't expect that Duan Muyu would actually say that he could help. However, Lin Yi wouldn't doubt the authenticity of Duan Muyu's words, so after nodding, he waved his hand and used the soul hook hand. This time, Lin Yi directly circled the surface of the sea below and pulled out all the primordial spirits of the 5 sea beasts in the middle gold core stage. With his primordial spirit level, it was really easy to do this. Because he didn't know what Duan Muyu was going to do, Lin Yi didn't take the Niden of these gold core stage sea beasts, lest the extra blood would affect Duan Muyu. All of a sudden, the 5 sea beasts that were happily devouring the fish suddenly froze in place, as if they had been struck by a spell. All of them stopped moving. The other sea beasts that were rushing over also felt a dangerous aura. They immediately scattered and dived to a safe position, quietly observing the situation on the surface of the sea. For Lin Yi's means, Duan Muyu had long been accustomed to it, so there was no surprise. He directly controlled his flying spirit beast to land on the sea level, put his right index finger into his mouth and bit it gently. Then he popped out a drop of blood and controlled it with his true chi to float in front of him. Slowly, this drop of blood was pulled into a thin red blood line by Duan Muyu's true chi and outlined a small and delicate red leaf. It floated towards the sea beast corpse that still had a small part of its body left. Fallen leaves to root red leaf soul attraction. Duan Muyu's hands formed a seal and she murmured in a low voice. Her pretty face was slightly pale. Obviously, this move was not simple, and it would still put a certain burden on Duan Muyu. The small red leaf fell on the sea beast corpse, and suddenly there was a strong red light. From the broken corpse, an illusory image of a sea beast rose, roaring silently to the sky. Following the soundless roar of the sea beast, a gust of wind started blowing on the surface of the sea. It blew randomly in all directions and kept changing directions. Fortunately, the wind wasn't very strong, or else Lin Yi's flying spirit beast wouldn't be able to adapt to the wind and would have to descend to the surface of the sea. Duan Muyu's face was serious, and he made a pulling gesture with his hands in the direction of the head of the sea beast phantom. He shouted in a low voice, "Fallen leaves to root. Soul return." A ray of dim red light shot from a distance and penetrated the head of the sea beast phantom. The silent roaring sea beast suddenly quieted down and returned to the broken corpse and disappeared. Duan Muyu also let out a long breath and controlled the flying spirit beast to fly to Lin Yi's side. "Lin Yi, the person who killed this sea beast is not far from here. Or it should be said that compared to the distance from where we found the blood just now, the person is only about 1/3 of the distance from us." Duan Muyu's beautiful eyebrows also frowned slightly. The result of "fallen leaves to root" should not be wrong, but Lin Yi could find the sea beast corpse 3 times the distance. There was no reason that he could not find the person who killed the sea beast. So close? Then let's go and have a look. Lin Yi narrowed his eyes and said. He didn't even bother to collect the inner cores of the 5 sea beasts in the middle stage of the gold core realm, and directly urged the flying spirit beast to fly in that direction. Duan Muyu naturally followed closely. Although it was an area with more Yuanying stage sea beasts, Duan Muyu was not worried about his safety at all with Lin Yi by his side. After a while, the two had already arrived at the place where Duan Muyu used "fallen leaves to root," but there was still an empty sea around them. There was nothing different, and even the sea beasts under the sea were not found. "Little you, can you still sense the location?" Lin Yi's divine sense was completely useless, and he could only continue to rely on Duan Muyu's means. Duan Muyu turned his palm, and in his palm was the delicate red leaf that fell into the sea beast corpse before. Under Duan Muyu's gaze, the red leaf fluttered and seemed to be conveying some kind of mysterious message. Unfortunately, Lin Yi couldn't understand it at all. Strange. Duan Muyu showed a stunned look on his face. After turning his head and looking around, he said to Lin Yi with some unwillingness, "The position that "fallen leaves to root" can sense is here. It has not changed, but there is no abnormality here. Maybe there is something wrong with my trick." Chapter 5588. Lin Yi carefully scanned this sea area, but he still didn't find any abnormalities. However, it didn't seem that there were no abnormalities at all. In the sea area that they passed before, regardless of the depth, they could always find some sea beasts. However, in this area, not even a single sea beast was found. In such a situation, there were only a few possibilities. One was that there was a powerful sea beast here, and other sea beasts didn't dare to invade this area at all. The second was that the sea beasts here had been cleared out by someone. Of course, this possibility was not high. Even if it was true, it was impossible not to be discovered by Lin Yi nearby with such a big movement. In addition, it was also possible that the sea beasts here were attracted by something and temporarily left here. They would return after a while. However, Lin Yi didn't quite believe these possibilities. According to Duan Muyu's senses, Lin Yi was more willing to believe that someone had set up some kind of restriction here, so this sea area was blocked. Even Lin Yi's divine sense could be hidden. This restriction was really powerful. If it weren't for Duan Muyu, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to find this place even if he was beaten to death. Xiao Yu, fly further away, then fly higher. Let me see what's going on here. Lin Yi turned his head and smiled at Duan Muyu, but he had already begun to condense the super pill firebomb in his hand. No matter what the restriction here was, Lin Yi didn't have the skills in this area. It was absolutely impossible to crack it step by step. The only chance was to break it with force. It just so happened that the super pill firebomb was very suitable for this situation. Duan Muyu didn't ask much. He obediently urged the flying spirit beast to fly to the side for a distance, then he watched the super pill firebomb in Lin Yi's hand emit more and more terrifying fluctuations from a distance. Lin Yi waited until the super pill firebomb was almost complete. Then, he controlled the flying spirit beast to fly up and hover 1,000 meters in the air. Then, he threw the super pill firebomb down. To be honest, for this super pill firebomb, Lin Yi did not use its full power. After all, Jin Weifeng might also be below. If he accidentally injured Jin Weifeng, it would be troublesome. Therefore, while reducing the power of the bomb, Lin Yi also increased the output of his spiritual consciousness pill fire, which made it easier to control the release of the power of the explosion. With a loud explosion, the two kinds of alchemic flames mixed with Lin Yi's true energy wreaked havoc everywhere. Lin Yi's eyes narrowed. His divine sense had finally sensed the abnormality in the space below. Therefore, he tried his best to guide the power of the super alchemic fire bomb towards the place where he sensed the abnormality. The originally normal space, under the burning of the two kinds of Dan fire, shattered like a mirror, revealing an almost identical sea inside. The only difference was that, in addition to Jin Weifeng, there were 3 nascent soul stage cultivators, and a few gold core stage sea beasts' corpses on the sea surface. Martial Uncle. At this time, Jin Weifeng was covered in blood and looked battered. If not for his flying spirit beast being more reliable, he might have already been chopped up and fed to the sea beasts. Lin Yi's face was gloomy, and from the gap between his teeth, he said, "You're courting death. What about becoming the head of the 4 big sects and uniting the families to hunt for spirit jades?" At this time, Lin Yi threw all of that to the back of his mind. When he saw Jin Weifeng's shaky appearance, Lin Yi's heart could no longer control the murderous intent in it. Damn! How did Lin Yi find this place? The strongest of the 3 was a peak nascent soul middle stage cultivator. After seeing Lin Yi, he could not help but cry out in panic. As for the other 2, one was a peak nascent soul early stage cultivator, and the other was an early nascent soul early stage cultivator. But to Lin Yi, even if there were 3 nascent soul full stage cultivators, it was all the same. The invisible soul reaping hand swept over. Lin Yi had already made up his mind to kill these 3 nascent soul stage cultivators. This was a very obvious killing plot against Jin Weifeng, or rather, it was a killing plot against the Green Cloud sect. Since the other party had already come to kill him, Lin Yi would definitely not compromise for the sake of the big picture. For Lin Yi, the big picture was a word that would only appear on the premise that the people around him were not in danger. The actions of these three people had obviously touched Lin Yi's bottom line. This was completely different from the two people from the Bright Sun After sect who chased after Duanmu Yu for the inner core of the sea beast. The peak nascent soul middle stage cultivator was still nervously guarding against Lin Yi's attack when there was a loud bang in front of him, followed by layers of ripples. His face instantly became incomparably pale, and he controlled the flying spirit beast to retreat in horror. Divine Sense Defense Tool. Lin Yi frowned. He originally planned to use the soul reaping hand to directly wipe out the three great nascent soul stage cultivators, but he did not expect to be blocked by the first one. The ancient small underworld was indeed a completely different place from the Heaven Step Island. While Divine Sense was powerful, Divine Sense defense tools were also very popular. In this case, it was not strange that Lin Yi's Divine Sense could not detect the shield they had set up before. He really does have a Divine Sense attack method, you all have to be careful. The peak nascent soul middle stage cultivator who retreated seemed to feel that his performance was a little embarrassing, so he loudly reminded the other two, at least to find a way out of this embarrassing situation. The other two looked at each other, and instead of retreating, they advanced and attacked Lin Yi. Obviously, they also had Divine Sense defense tools on them, so they were not afraid of Lin Yi's means. Okuda clan, when did you get involved with the Five Elements sect? Lin Yi casually released 3 Divine Sense vortexes, and said to the 2 nascent soul experts with a cold expression. In the first round, the Okuda clan sent out a nascent soul expert and a peak gold core expert, and then the peak gold core expert died. Unexpectedly, in the second round, the Okuda clan directly sent out 2 nascent soul experts, and their strength was indeed quite strong. Originally, because of the Okuda clan on the Heaven Step Island, Lin Yi had a good impression of the Okuda clan here. Although they had not interacted much, if possible, Lin Yi would definitely take care of the Okuda clan. He did not expect that they would directly join forces with the Five Elements sect to sneak attack Jin Weifeng. This was not something that Lin Yi could tolerate. The Divine Sense vortexes slightly blocked the attacks of the two, but did not cause any damage. Sure enough, they also had Divine Sense defense tools on them. With a thought, a part of the Divine Sense in the Divine Sense vortexes transformed into the Divine Sense alchemy fire, and its power immediately doubled. This was a move that Lin Yi originally wanted to use against Enchanting, and now it was also effective against the 2 Okuda clan members. Chapter 5589. At the same time that the two of them were overwhelmed with shock, they had already experienced the crazy baptism of the pill fire vortex. The burning and tearing that came from the depths of their souls immediately caused the two of them to be in so much pain that they wished they were dead. But the two of them couldn't even let out a scream and could only fall straight from their respective flying spirit beasts into the sea. Fortunately, all the sea beasts in the nearby sea had been killed. Otherwise, these two people would be dead meat if they fell into the sea. Sometimes, living a life worse than death was even crueler than being killed directly. Therefore, after these two people fell into the sea, Lin Yi didn't take any further action. It wouldn't be too late to say anything after they had suffered enough. Ignoring the two people from the Okuda family, Lin Yi turned his head and looked at the peak nascent soul realm cultivator. He sneered and said, "Why would an expert of the Five Elements sect appear in the Endless Sea? Could it be that the Five Elements sect doesn't want to stay in the top 4, but wants to compete with the top 10? Although he didn't know this person, Lin Yi had seen this peak nascent soul realm cultivator before. At that time, he was standing behind Ma Zayden. Obviously, he was one of the higher-ups of the Five Elements sect. He didn't expect that Ma Zayden would actually send such a high-level member of the Five Elements sect to directly cause trouble for the Blue Cloud sect in the Endless Sea. This move really surprised Lin Yi. This peak nascent soul realm cultivator was called Ma Mingyuan. He was Ma Zayden's cousin. His purpose of sneaking into the Endless Sea was to find an opportunity to weaken the strength of the Blue Cloud sect. He was about to succeed in killing Jin Weifeng, but in the end, he regrettably failed. Now that he heard Lin Yi's slightly sarcastic words, his face turned green and red. "Lin Yi, don't talk nonsense. I, Ma Mingyuan, just don't like your Blue Cloud sect. What does that have to do with the Five Elements sect? Don't think that just because you have a few divine sense attacks, you can run amok in the ancient martial world. If you have the ability, come and try to attack me. Ma Mingyuan roared in a threatening manner, but in his heart, he was already thinking about how to escape. Lin Yi had easily broken through the Okuda clan's divine sense defensive tool. This had already caused Ma Mingyuan to feel extremely guilty. Although his defensive tool was much better than the two from the Okuda clan, and Lin Yi's first attack was also perfectly blocked by his defensive tool, it didn't give him any sense of security. Hee, Ma Mingyuan, right? Since you want me to give it a try, I'll give it a try. Lin Yi said with a light smile, but his eyes flashed with a cold light. The pill fire vortex that was attacking the two Okuda clan members suddenly appeared around Ma Mingyuan. Although this evolved version of the Divine Sense Vortex was still within the scope of Divine Sense offensive tools, its destructive power against Divine Sense defensive tools had completely exceeded this scope. Ma Mingyuan's Divine Sense defensive tool was indeed of a higher grade than the Okuda clan's, but the rapidly fluctuating protective layer obviously wouldn't be able to withstand it for long. Ma Mingyuan was instantly scared out of his wits. This Lin Yi really fucking made a move at the slightest disagreement. Can't you let me finish talking properly? Can't you let me turn around and leave in a carefree manner? The corner of Lin Yi's mouth curled into a trace of a cold smile. He casually released a stream of 5 elements true qi and joined in the destruction. On the side, Jin Weifeng had already taken the time to consume a top-grade great cyclic pill. His injuries were already under control, but Lin Yi wasn't going to let Ma Mingyuan off just because of this. When Ma Mingyuan saw the 5-colored WYRM in the air that was formed from his qi, his last shred of hope completely dissipated. He immediately urged the flying spirit beast he was riding on to turn around and flee. This wasn't the flying spirit beast 10 Little chose. When Ma Mingyuan came out, he used the 5 elements sex flying spirit beast, which was of a higher grade than the one 10 Little used. Otherwise, Jin Weifeng wouldn't have been surrounded by the Okuda clan if he had a high-quality flying spirit beast. Now that Ma Mingyuan wanted to escape, even Jin Weifeng's flying spirit beast couldn't catch up to Ma Mingyuan. The only chance was to prevent Ma Mingyuan from speeding up. Lin Yi waved his hand and threw a super pill firebomb. Of course, the power condensed in a hurry wasn't too great, but it was enough to block for a moment. The distance between Lin Yi and Ma Mingyuan was already very close. In addition, Ma Mingyuan wanted to turn around and flee, so he wasn't prepared for Lin Yi's attack at all. The super pill firebomb exploded directly in front of the flying spirit beast's head. The Divine Sense pill fire vortex and 5 elements true qi took advantage of the opportunity and completely destroyed Ma Mingyuan's Divine Sense defense tool. This time, Ma Mingyuan was really scared out of his wits. He directly begged for mercy. Senior Lin, please spare me. Junior surrenders. I'm sorry, but I don't accept surrenders. After Lin Yi said this indifferently, he used the soul reaping hand again. Ma Mingyuan no longer had the strength to resist. Before he could finish speaking, he fell straight off the flying spirit beast. Lin Yi didn't continue to attack Ma Mingyuan's body. After falling into the endless sea, it would only become a snack for the sea beasts. As for whether it was dead or alive, those sea beasts wouldn't be picky. The 2 nascent soul stage experts of the Okuda family finally recovered from Lin Yi's divine sense attack. When they saw that Ma Mingyuan didn't even fight back, he directly fell to the ground and died. This time, the 2 of them were scared out of their wits. They knew that their lives were in the hands of Lin Yi. They didn't dare to put on any airs. They hurriedly crawled to the sea beast's corpse on the surface of the sea and obediently knelt down. Senior Lin, Junior was forced by the Qingkuan sect and the 5 Elements sect. Senior Lin, please let Junior go. The cultivator at the peak of the early nascent soul stage said while trembling with fear. When Duanmuyu saw the battle taking place in the distance, he immediately urged his flying spirit beast to rush over to help. But by the time he arrived, the dust had already settled. Your Okuda family is really shameless. You're actually willing to be the lackey of the 5 Elements sect. Lin Yi, why don't you just kill the 2 of them as well? Duan Muyu was a person who hated evil. So, he was very dissatisfied with the Okuda family's behavior this time. When the two of them heard Duan Muyu's suggestion, their bodies trembled. They hated the Qianquan sect and the Five Elements sect to the core. It was clearly these two sects who wanted to go against the Blue Cloud sect, but they insisted on dragging the Okuda family down with them. One had to know that the Okuda family only had two nascent soul stage experts. In the first round, they lost a peak gold core expert. If Lin Yi wasn't willing to let the two of them go, the Okuda family would definitely decline. Moreover, if Lin Yi really killed the two of them, he might casually exterminate the Okuda family. At that time, the Qianquan sect and the Five Elements sect might not help them. Chapter 5590. Senior Lin, we were blind this time. As long as Senior Lin can let us go, from now on, the Okuda family will follow the lead of the Green Cloud sect. If Senior Lin wants us to go east, we will not go west. If Senior Lin wants us to go up the mountain, we will not go down the sea. Even if we have to climb a mountain of swords or dive into a pot of boiling oil, as long as it is Senior Lin's command, we will not hesitate. If we can't do it, then let our hearts be pierced by thousands of arrows, and we will never be able to reincarnate. The peak early nascent soul realm cultivator suddenly stood up and swore vehemently. So you are willing to die for me? Lin Yi raised his eyebrows and asked meaningfully. Of course. As long as Senior Lin commands us, we will not hesitate. Although he felt that something was wrong, he still replied resolutely and decisively. Then let me see one of you die first. The corner of Lin Yi's mouth curled up slightly as he looked at the two of them indifferently. Ah. Let me see one of you die. I only have one life, how do I die? Killing people is just a matter of nodding your head to the ground, this is too cruel. The cultivator at the peak of the early stage of Yuanying realm felt indignant in his heart, but he put on an embarrassed smile and said, Senior Lin, you see, we brothers still have some strength. It's meaningless to die for nothing. Good steel should be used on the blade's edge. When it's necessary, we brothers will definitely not frown. Duan Muyu interrupted, since Lin Yi has said it, it should be the time. The two Okuda family cultivators looked at Duan Muyu with a face full of grievance. They thought to themselves, little grandaunt, we brothers did not offend you, right? Can't you be more merciful with your words? After Jin Weifeng ate the Great Restore pill, his injuries had recovered quickly. Now, he also came over and said, Grand Uncle, since they are so sincere, why don't we accept them? Anyway, our Green Cloud sect's goal is to become one of the top 4 sections. In the future, we still need to have a few sections. The Okuda family doesn't seem to be a bad choice. The two Okuda family cultivators turned their heads and looked at Jin Weifeng with surprise and joy. They never thought that the little guy they were chasing would actually plead for them now. This was really a case of finding a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. Jin Weifeng did not care about their grateful gazes at all. He pleaded for them from the perspective of Jadian sect. To be honest, no one would have a good impression of the people who were hunting them down. However, Jin Weifeng and Xian Jie had the same temperament. They both regarded the responsibility of the sect as more important than their own lives. Therefore, it was not strange for them to say such words. Lin Yi glanced at Jin Weifeng and nodded with gratification. I'm very happy that you can say that. Since you've spoken, let them go. Thank you, Senior Lin. Thank you, Senior Jin. The two from the Okuda clan hurriedly thanked Jin Weifeng. They didn't care if Jin Weifeng was qualified to be their senior. In any case, Jin Weifeng had saved their lives. The two of you only thanked them but not me. Do you have a grudge against me? Duan Muyu suddenly interrupted. The two from the Okuda family suddenly shivered. They thought to themselves, how could we forget about this grandaunt? But you keep asking Lin Yi to kill us and even want us to thank you. Isn't this a little too much? Although they thought so, they also knew that Duan Muyu's words carried a lot of weight. Although Lin Yi had promised to let them go, there was no guarantee that he would suddenly change his mind. Therefore, they could only pinch their noses and thank Duan Muyu. Duan Muyu smiled with satisfaction. She didn't really want to make things difficult for these two. Since Jin Weifeng didn't want to pursue the matter, Duan Muyu naturally wouldn't pursue the matter and make things difficult for Lin Yi. She was just playing around with these two to vent her anger. After thinking for a moment, Lin Yi took out 2 pills and said, "You only said it verbally. To be honest, I can't completely trust you too. So, take these 2 pills. If you perform well, I will give you the antidote after a year. Otherwise, after a year, you will bleed from your 7 apertures, and your primordial spirit will collapse and die." The two from the Okuda family looked at each other and saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. However, what Lin Yi said was also right. There was no problem with doing this. Therefore, the two did not hesitate and took the pills from Lin Yi's hand and swallowed them. Lin Yi nodded with satisfaction and said, "Very good. This pill will not take effect within a year. Instead, it will be beneficial to you. There will be no abnormalities during normal times. As long as you sincerely submit to the Clear Sky sect, you will naturally be fine after a year. Otherwise, you know the consequences. Senior Lin, please rest assured. Our Okuda family will not be disloyal. From today onwards, we will completely obey the Clear Sky sect and Senior Lin." The two hurriedly cupped their fists to express their loyalty. Their lives were in Lin Yi's hands, so they could only do so. Lin Yi faintly nodded. However, he was secretly laughing in his heart. When he was in the Heavenly Island and the immemorial trials, he had indeed concocted this kind of control pill. It wasn't difficult for him to concoct some insect poison. However, he was in a hurry and didn't have the time to prepare it. Therefore, what Lin Yi gave to the two from the Okuda family wasn't poison. On the contrary, the 2 pills were a new pill that Lin Yi had researched while he was idle in the Tiandan pavilion. However, it wasn't very useful after concocting it, so he threw it to the side. For those who consumed it, it was just like how people in the secular world would consume health supplements. There would basically be no side effects, and there might be some benefits. However, without accurate data, Lin Yi couldn't be sure. It was just that the two from the Okuda family were prejudiced by Lin Yi. They thought that what they consumed was poison. Since there were no abnormalities, it showed how potent the poison was. Now, they didn't dare to have any thoughts of resisting. They only hoped that if they performed well, Lin Yi would give them the antidote as soon as possible. "You two go hunt sea beasts in the nearby sea. If there's anything I need you to do, I will inform you." Lin Yi casually said a few words and waved his hand to send the two from the Okuda family away. Ma Mingyuan didn't have any good things left on him, but his flying spirit beast was still very good. Lin Yi wanted to exchange it for a good flying spirit beast, so he didn't hesitate to take Ma Mingyuan's flying spirit beast for himself. Chapter 5591. Lin Yi wanted Jin Weifeng to hunt sea beasts outside the range of the sea map, which was mostly the territory of sea beasts at the peak of the Gold Core Realm and peak of the Gold Core Realm. Moreover, sea beasts at the nascent Soul Realm were not rare. With Jin Weifeng's strength, it would be good practice for him to hunt them alone. Duan Muyu, on the other hand, was within the range of the sea map. Although sea beasts at the nascent Soul Realm might appear, most of them were at the peak of the Gold Core Realm and mid-Gold Core Realm. For Duan Muyu, the effect was the same as Jin Weifeng's. Lin Yi himself was in the middle of the two. If anything unexpected happened, he could support them at any time. With the flying spirit beast sent by Ma Mingyuan, Lin Yi could guarantee this. As for the direction of flying, Lin Yi also considered it. After encountering the everyday sex pursuit of Duan Muyu to rob the sea beast's inner elixir, and the 5 Element sect and the Okuda clan's plot against Jin Weifeng, Lin Yi was a little worried about others, such as Bing Wuqing and Leng Leng. On the surface, they belonged to the Snow Sword sect under the Qinkuan sect, but they had a close relationship with the Blue Cloud sect. Qinkuan sect might retaliate secretly, so Lin Yi chose the direction where there was a high chance of meeting Bing Wuqing and the others. After flying for a while, Duan Muyu and Jin Weifeng both gained something. The most difficult thing about hunting sea beasts was that they would not give you a chance when there were many people. But if you acted alone, it was difficult to guarantee that you could handle the danger. Now that the two had Lin Yi looking after them from a distance, they could directly lure the sea beasts to attack them, and then take the opportunity to kill them. So the progress was quite good. During this period, Lin Yi attacked twice, both of which were strong enemies that the two absolutely could not deal with. Then it was very smooth. Seeing that the sky was gradually getting dark, Lin Yi called the two to stop fighting. We have to find a place to rest today, or the flying spirit beast will be too tired, which will not be good for future battles, Lin Yi said with a smile after the two flew back. The endless sea was not only a vast ocean. There were also sporadic small islands on the sea, and even some large coral reefs. As long as you dared, you could also use them as a place to rest. We've been killing sea beasts for half a day. We're tired, okay? Really, do you think just flying spirit beasts are tiring? Duan Muyu said with a smile, then opened the nautical map and looked at it. We are now at the edge of the nautical map. There are a few small islands marked here that can be settled. The nearest one is about 160 to 170 kilometers away. It won't take long to fly there. Why don't we go there? Duan Muyu said with a smile. Lin Yi nodded and said, sure, as long as we can rest, it's fine. Let's go to this island. Of course, Jin Weifeng didn't have any objections, so the three of them slightly adjusted their direction and quickly flew towards the island on the nautical map. Before arriving, Lin Yi had already swept the island with his divine sense. The island was oval in shape, with a maximum length of about 3 kilometers and a maximum width of about 2 kilometers. The highest point of the island was less than 300 meters above sea level. It was indeed a small island, but it could accommodate about 800 people. Xiaoyu, are you sure that the island is marked as a place to rest on the nautical map? Lin Yi suddenly turned his head and asked Duan Muyu. Lin Yi found that his divine sense could only see the rough appearance of the island, but he couldn't penetrate the island. Obviously, there was something strange about the island. Duan Muyu was slightly startled. He didn't look at the nautical map anymore, but nodded subconsciously. I'm sure. Is there anything wrong? Nothing, I'm just worried that the environment on the island is not good enough. Lin Yi said with a smile and changed the topic. Perhaps there was some special geographical factor on the island itself that could isolate the detection of divine sense. Anyway, Lin Yi was bold and skilled. Even if there was something fishy on the island, it might not be able to hurt Lin Yi and the others. The flying spirit beasts of the three of them were excellent. More than 100 kilometers was just a matter of time for them to say a few words. They could only see the black dot of the island from afar. Soon, the whole picture was revealed. Lin Yi, it seems that you worried for nothing. This island is very beautiful. Duan Muyu laughed and said to Lin Yi. Then, he urged the flying spirit beast to land on the island first. Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. He followed closely behind Duan Muyu and landed. He didn't let his guard down. Until now, his divine sense still couldn't cover the island. In the air, his eyes could see much more than his divine sense. The interference of the tidal turbulence on this island is so strong. My divine sense can't penetrate here. It's really rare. Jin Weifeng, who was next to Lin Yi, suddenly muttered. However, his muttering surprised Lin Yi. Weifeng, what interference of the tidal turbulence are you talking about? Lin Yi turned his head and asked. At the same time, the three of them had landed less than 20 meters above the surface of the island. Lin Yi's divine sense suddenly lost its previous sense of obstruction. In an instant, it covered every inch of space on the island. Jin Weifeng was stunned. He didn't expect Lin Yi to ask this question. However, he immediately answered, the interference of the tidal turbulence is a special natural phenomenon in the endless sea. It is mostly seen on small islands in the sea. It can isolate and shield the detection of divine sense. So, if there are no records of the islands in the endless sea, it is very likely that there is a dangerous existence. Don't go to such islands to explore unless it's necessary. I see. Lin Yi was a little speechless. It turned out that it was really a special natural phenomenon. He had been worried for nothing. However, Lin Yi's expression changed immediately. After his divine sense covered the entire island, everything that he couldn't see clearly before was now clearly reflected in Lin Yi's sea of consciousness. He also discovered that Bing Wuqing and Leng Leng were on this island. Without waiting for him to land, Lin Yi directly urged the flying spirit beast he was riding on to fly in the direction of Bing Wuqing and Leng Leng at full speed. He only had time to say, "Follow me." Jin Weifeng was already an expert in the early stage of the nascent soul realm. Although his divine sense couldn't be compared to Lin Yi's, the range that he could detect was not small. So, after Lin Yi discovered Bing Wuqing and Leng Leng, Jin Weifeng also immediately discovered them. Without saying anything, he also flew over. As for Duan Muyu, her divine sense was far from Lin Yi's or even Jin Weifeng's. However, after hearing Lin Yi's call, she immediately pulled up the flying spirit beast that was about to land and followed closely behind Lin Yi. The three of them formed a straight line and flew over the sky of the island at lightning speed. Chapter 5592. Boss Lin Yi. Bing Wuqing was the first to notice Lin Yi's arrival. Her cold expression relaxed, which was a rare sight. Leng Leng also saw Lin Yi. She smiled like a flower and shouted, "Lin Yi, you're finally here." Seeing that the two of them were fine, Lin Yi was finally relieved. He nodded and greeted them. Then, he glanced at the people surrounding Bing Wuqing and asked, "What happened?" Although they were surrounded, there were only 4 people. One of them was Zhao Dan from the evil warding sect. The other was a cultivator at the peak of the late Golden Elixir realm, who was Zhao Dan's subordinate. He was a replacement for the cultivator at the peak of the Golden Elixir realm who had died in the previous round. Lin Yi had also seen one before. He was an expert at the early stage of the nascent soul realm from the Qingquan sect. Only the last one was a long-haired young man with an evil expression. He was someone that Lin Yi had never seen before. When Jin Weifeng and Duan Muyu landed, they had already surpassed the other side in terms of numbers. Bing Wuqing had never been one to speak much, so she replied coldly, "We had first arrived on the island to find a place to rest. Then, these 4 people appeared together and attacked us without saying a word. If not for Elder Bing's extraordinary powers, you might not have been able to see us by the time you arrived." Lin Yi snorted and said to Zhao Dan, "Sect leader Zhao, what is the meaning of this?" When he killed Enchanting, Zhao Dan was begging for his life. Now, he came to find trouble. Was he tired of living and looking for death? This is just a misunderstanding. Zhao Dan didn't dare to provoke Lin Yi. Even someone like Enchanting was killed by Lin Yi. Zhao Dan was already traumatized by Lin Yi. After being questioned by Lin Yi, not only his heart, but his legs also started to tremble. Lin Yi coldly glanced at that early-stage nascent soul realm cultivator from Qingquan sect. He didn't find it strange at all. Previously, the 5 Elements sect had joined hands with the Okuda clan under Qingquan sect. Now, it was normal for the Qingquan sect to join hands with the evil warding sect under 5 Elements sect. Needless to say, Qingquan sect and the 5 Elements sect had formed an alliance. The only thing that surprised Lin Yi was that Cosmos sect's killing fruit had been cut off. Although he had guessed that Cosmos sect would be dissatisfied with Snow Sword faction, he did not expect them to be in such a hurry to take action. "That's right, this is just a misunderstanding." Before Zhao Dan could finish his sentence, the long-haired evil-looking young man beside him grinned and said to Leng Leng with a smile, "Actually, I just wanted to express my affection to Miss Leng Leng." How did it become a fight without saying anything? "Miss Leng Leng, you have to speak with a conscience." I wonder if Miss Leng Leng has a conscience. "Why don't you come over and let me touch you?" Leng Leng subconsciously shrunk her body and hid behind Lin Yi to avoid the lustful gaze of the long-haired young man. At the same time, she said angrily, the worst is this dirty and shameless thing. Lin Yi, can you drive him away? I hate him when I see him. Lin Yi frowned slightly. To be honest, Lin Yi also felt that this long-haired young man was asking for a beating. However, for some reason, Lin Yi felt that he was a little familiar, as if he had seen him somewhere before. Who are you? Qinkuan sect? Lin Yi did not put this long-haired young man in his eyes. He wanted to figure out his background first, so he did not make a move immediately. If he made a move, Lin Yi would not just drive him away. How dare he flirt with Lang Lang in front of Lin Yi? Wouldn't it be too easy for him to drive him away? Who are you? Miss Lang Lang's lover? TSK, TSK, TSK. I couldn't tell. You look so innocent, but you already have a lover. But it doesn't matter. This young master is into this kind of thing. The long-haired young man also did not put Lin Yi in his eyes at all. His words were getting more and more unpleasant. Lang Lang's pretty face was flushed with anger behind Lin Yi. Although she had a crush on Lin Yi, the word lover was too much. So, Lang Lang raised the ice-shattering sword in her hand and was about to rush out to launch an attack. Lin Yi raised his hand and stopped Lang Lang. He turned around and gave her a look that said, I'll take care of everything. Then, he turned back to look at the long-haired young man. That cold and indifferent gaze was as if he was looking at a dead man. Since you're in a hurry to die, then I'll fulfill your wish. No matter who you are, you're just an insignificant person. Lin Yi showed a sarcastic look on his face. He raised his hand and threw out a consciousness whirlpool. With the emergence of more and more consciousness defense tools, the soul hook hand had lost its effect several times. So, Lin Yi simply used the consciousness whirlpool. After all, it could be transformed into the alchemy fire consciousness whirlpool at any time. In terms of power, it was not inferior to the soul hook hand. The advantage of the soul hook hand was that it was invisible and silent. It was absolutely convenient to use for sneak attacks. Its disadvantage was that it did not have a strong offensive ability. If it encountered a divine sense defense tool, there would be no way. So, Lin Yi's choice of the consciousness whirlpool was absolutely correct. Once the opponent's defense was broken, the soul hook hand would be successful in every endeavor. However, what Lin Yi didn't expect was that the long-haired young man did not have a consciousness defense tool. In other words, Lin Yi was not sure whether he had one or not. Because the consciousness whirlpool had been completely blocked by a red octopus sea beast that had appeared out of nowhere. What is this thing? Lin Yi frowned slightly. He had a vague feeling in his heart that something was wrong. This red octopus sea beast that had appeared out of nowhere was only at the early stage of the nascent soul realm. However, its soft tentacles had directly dispersed the consciousness whirlpool. It seemed that this red octopus sea beast should be able to resist the consciousness attack. Since you're in a hurry to die, then I'll fulfill your wish. No matter who you are, you're just an insignificant person. The long-haired young man repeated Lin Yi's words without missing a word. Then, he laughed and said, I must give you full marks for this pretentious act. But now you're pretending to be an idiot, aren't you? You've never seen it before, right? I'm not afraid to tell you that this is a spirit-shattering octopus that I've caught with great difficulty. As long as there's any consciousness attack, it will automatically come out and crush it. So, you idiot, don't even think about using those inferior methods of consciousness attack. Chapter 5593. Elder Een? Lin Yi was slightly startled. After taking a closer look, he realized why this guy looked so familiar. Apart from the long hair, this guy looked very similar to Enchanting and even more similar to Enchanting. It was obvious that they were from the same family. However, this Elder Een did not seem to have the blood-soul curse. Otherwise, he would have known that Lin Yi had killed Enchanting and Enchanting. Ha 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 ha, Elder Zhao, you are quite smart. Why don't you give the position of sect leader to me? You can be a great elder or something. That would save you a lot of trouble. What do you think? So it's decided? The long-haired young man was not polite at all. He immediately took the opportunity to ask for the position of sect leader. Zhao Xintian's mouth twitched and he laughed dryly. He turned to Lin Yi and said, "Lin Yi, I think you should surrender. Don't look at Elder Yin Jihai's young age. He is a real genius. His brother, Yin Jiping, is also quite talented. However, compared to Elder Yin Jihai, he is just a piece of trash. If Elder Yin hadn't been cultivating in the Endless Sea, our sect wouldn't have lost so badly in the first round of the competition. This octopus sea beast is a blood puppet created by Elder Yin after he had improved the refining method of the blood spirit beast. It's more than 10 times stronger than the blood spirit beast. How about it? Surrender now and I will help you put in a good word or two." Lin Yi raised an eyebrow. This Zhao Xiantian was interesting. It looked like he was praising Yin Jihai and belittling him, but his words revealed important information about Yin Jihai. Connecting it to what Yin Jihai had said earlier, it didn't matter if Yin Jihai was joking or not, Zhao Xiantian was taking it seriously. The peak stage gold core late stage cultivator from Bai Xie's sect looked at Zhao Xiantian thoughtfully but did not say anything. He was on Zhao Xiantian's side, even if he knew what Zhao Xiantian was trying to do. He would not go against Zhao Xiantian and warn Yin Jihai. Ha ha ha, well said. Lin Yi, quickly surrender. I am still in a hurry to consummate my marriage with Leng Leng. Yin Jihai did not seem to notice Zhao Xiantian's little gesture. He simply thought that Zhao Xiantian was praising him. Therefore, he was in high spirits and did not even mention the position of sect leader. Leng Leng rushed out and scolded, "It's just an octopus. Watch how I cut it into pieces and have a seafood barbecue later." The shattered ice sword's cold glint shone brightly. The cold air condensed to the extreme and pierced towards the red octopus sea beast in a flash. It must be mentioned that Yu Taizong's shattered ice sword was a perfect match for Leng Leng's shattered ice physique. If Yu Taizong could unleash 120% of his actual strength with the shattered ice sword, then Leng Leng's shattered ice physique would be able to unleash 200% of her actual strength with the shattered ice sword. In addition to the increase in attack power brought by the ice-shattering physique, it was not an exaggeration to say that Leng Leng's instantaneous explosive power had reached the level of the early stage of nascent soul realm. Everything happened so suddenly that Yin Jihai's octopus was caught off guard. The octopus was an expert in dealing with divine sense attacks. However, its defensive ability against physical attacks was far below the average level. In other words, even though the octopus was at the early stage of nascent soul realm, its defensive ability against physical attacks was only at the average level of the gold core perfected or even the peak of the late stage of gold core realm. As long as Leng Leng's ice-shattering sword could pierce the octopus that even Lin Yi could not deal with would be instantly turned into ice shards. Ha ha ha, you're spicy. I am really liking you more and more. Ayaya, I can't wait to consummate my marriage with you. Yin Jihai laughed arrogantly. He didn't seem to have made any move, but a 3-meter-tall sea turtle suddenly appeared in front of him and the octopus. Its hard and heavy shell blocked the ice-breaking sword by a hair's breadth. The cold air that had been accumulating for a long time froze a large piece of the tortoise's shell. Then, it shattered into pieces. This special attack had the shattering ice physique. If an octopus sea beast had been pierced by this attack, it would have immediately exploded. However, the tortoise's shell didn't have the slightest scar on it. Instead, it had become increasingly bright. It seemed as if it had taken a bath in the shattered ice. It was another early-stage nascent soul realm sea beast. Moreover, it was also a blood puppet that was refined using the same method as the blood spiritual beast. The blood spiritual beast was a complete primordial spirit while the blood puppet retained its original physical body. Even though Lin Yi did not know the principle behind it, it was obvious that Yin Jihai was indeed a rare genius in this aspect. 2 early-stage nascent soul realm sea beasts could completely defend against divine sense and physical attacks. In addition, Yin Jihai was also an expert at the peak of the early stage of nascent soul realm. So, Lin Yi felt a little troubled for a moment. If his real body was here, Lin Yi would be able to blow up the sea beasts of nascent soul realm with a wave of his 5 elements murderous aura. Unfortunately, Lin Yi was only a primordial spirit at the moment. So, he could not use most of his moves. After his divine sense attacks were restricted, only the super alchemy fire bomb could be regarded as his trump card. Fortunately, Lin Yi had the space of the jade pendant. Otherwise, how could he keep using the super alchemy fire bomb? It would be good if he could use it with all his strength once a day. However, under the current circumstances, it seemed unnecessary to use the super alchemy fire bomb. Leng Leng's first attack failed, but she was not discouraged. She seized the opportunity to use the prison drawing. Under the amplification of the ice-shattering sword, the power of the prison drawing was doubled. Unfortunately, the sea turtle's level was much higher than Leng Leng's. Moreover, its body could restrain Leng Leng's attack. So, it still failed in the end. Ha 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 ha, Leng Leng, are you dancing for me? Not bad, not bad. Your figure is really charming. You're so mesmerizing that I'm going to die. No, I can't wait anymore. Let's get rid of all the hindrances first. Then, let's go to the bridal room immediately. Yin Jihai was still talking to himself. However, after he finished speaking, a black shadow soared into the sky. After making a turn in the air, it instantly shot hundreds of water arrows at Lin Yi and the others. Lin Yi looked up. It was another blood puppet refined from an early-stage nascent soul swordfish sea beast. He did not know where Yin Jihai caught so many nascent soul realm sea beasts. Aya, there's a beauty over there. I can't hurt the beauty. How nice would it be to accompany me to the bridal room with Leng Leng later? Yin Jihai had a relaxed expression on his face. He even had the time to command the swordfish sea beast puppet to deflect the attack, avoiding Duan Muyu's direction. Chapter 55-94. The ice soul sword let out a clear and melodious sword cry and soared into the sky with a cold gleam. The swordfish was, after all, a sea beast in the sea. Once it left the water, its strength would be greatly reduced, even if it had become a blood puppet. It was already the limit for it to launch an all-out attack. Bing Wuqing was keenly aware of this, and seized the opportunity to launch a thunderous attack. Wei Feng, attack that octopus sea beast puppet. Lin Yi instructed through telepathy using vital energy. His figure floated forward, and a small consciousness vortex was sent into the body of the sea turtle. As an amphibious sea beast, the sea turtle's strength would not suffer too much on land, especially when it appeared as a defensive meat shield. Therefore, the cold ice-shattering sword could not do anything to this sea turtle. However, Lin Yi's consciousness vortex was different. This attack ignored the sea turtle's tough turtle shell defense, and directly acted on its primordial spirit. Moreover, after coming into contact with the sea turtle's primordial spirit, Lin Yi immediately triggered the elixir fire of the sea turtle, and madly burned the primordial spirit of the sea turtle in the form of a vortex. Although the sea turtle no longer had a real primordial spirit after becoming a blood puppet, the blood puppet was, after all, an upgraded version of the blood spiritual beast's refining method. The core was still the blood spiritual beast, and it was just an additional physical puppet. Therefore, Lin Yi's attack was aimed at the vital point, and instantly killed the sea turtle's primordial spirit, which was one of Yin Jihai's blood spiritual beasts. Yin Jihai, who was originally insolent, suddenly stiffened, and his face turned pale in an instant. He really did not expect Lin Yi to act so quickly. Originally, the sea turtle and the octopus were partners, and their defense was flawless. Whether it was divine sense or physical attacks, they would all be blocked. Then, with the swordfish as a means of attack, it was simply a perfect combination of attack and defense. Unfortunately, Yin Jihai forgot that he was not facing Lin Yi alone. Bing Wuqing's calm and ruthless insight and counterattack had already exceeded Yin Jihai's expectations. If they were on the sea, the swordfish would still have enough ability to respond, but now they were on the island, and Yin Jihai could only distract himself to control the swordfish. Lin Yi saw this, and instantly launched an attack. In terms of seizing the opportunity to fight, Lin Yi was even better than Bing Wuqing. Just in case, Lin Yi also ordered Jin Weifeng to entangle the octopus, so that this annoying thing would not be able to destroy Lin Yi's divine sense attack. In fact, Jin Weifeng had attacked at the first instance, and had successfully blocked the octopus's reinforcement. But at that time, Lin Yi had already finished killing the sea turtle with lightning speed. Even without Jin Weifeng, the octopus might not have been able to attack in time. At the same time, Leng Leng also stabbed her sword at the octopus. She was no longer the naive and weak trial disciple in the secular world. With the improvement of her strength, her combat awareness had also matured. Although Lin Yi did not ask for her help, the moment Lin Yi attacked, Leng Leng had determined that Lin Yi's target was the sea turtle, so she instinctively did the action that Lin Yi wanted Jin Weifeng to do. So when the sea turtle crashed to the ground, the ice-shattering sword pierced into the octopus's body like a meteor. Originally, Leng Leng might not have been able to succeed so easily, but with Jin Weifeng's attack, the octopus's weak physical defense ability was immediately rendered useless. Its soft body instantly froze and stiffened, and then shattered into pieces on the ground with a crackling sound. Lin Yi threw an elixir fire at it, and burned the spiritual blood beast's body inside the octopus's body into ashes. Jihai's body, which had just stiffened because of the sea turtle's counterattack, suddenly became stiff after a shake. His pale face suddenly turned gray, and a trace of horror flashed in his eyes. At this time, Bing Wuqing's ice soul sword had just brought her through the ice layer formed by the water arrows, and appeared in front of the swordfish. The swordfish puppet, which was merely at the early nascent soul realm, had no ability to resist Bing Wuqing's ice-shattering sword, not to mention that the swordfish puppet had lost Jihai's control. When the ice soul sword chopped the swordfish puppet into pieces, Lin Yi's elixir fire also flew over at the right time, and completely finished off the third spiritual blood beast. Jihai's face had completely lost its color, but there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. It seemed that the counterattack of the three blood puppets had greatly damaged his vitality. At this time, if Lin Yi wanted to kill him, it would be a piece of cake. The whole process seemed to be quite complicated, but in fact, it was just a matter of a snap of the fingers. Jihai, who had the absolute upper hand before, had been beaten to the point where he could not even find his direction in the blink of an eye. The early nascent soul realm expert of the Qingkuan sect did not say a word, and turned to leave. Originally, he thought that even if Jihai could not win against Lin Yi, he would at least be able to stall for a while, and then if he had the opportunity, he could launch a sneak attack. But no matter what, he did not think that Jihai, who was known as the super genius of the evil warding sect, was simply like an idiotic clown, and was easily beaten by someone. How terrifying Lin Yi was, the people of the Qingkuan sect knew best. If they did not leave now, they might not be able to leave again. Chapter 5595. Zhao Xiaodan felt lucky that he had chosen the right side. If he had chosen Jihai's side, he would have died together with Jihai. Senior Lin, the two of us don't have anything to do with Jihai. You should know that in our evil warding sect, the clan was very powerful. I'm the leader of a sect, but I'm Qingqing's puppet. Senior Lin, you've seen Jihai's strength. The two of us aren't his match. We can only pretend to be polite to him and find an opportunity to inform Senior Lin. Zhao Xiaodan's attitude was very humble. He was afraid that Lin Yi wouldn't listen to his explanation and would kill him like Jihai. The Qingkuan sect's disciple looked at Zhao Xiaodan in shock. He had never heard that the evil warding sect had a relationship with Lin Yi. Zhao Xiaodan looked like he wanted to kneel down and lick Lin Yi's boots. It shouldn't be because of Jihai. When Zhao Xiaodan revealed Jihai's information, he felt that something was wrong. Only an idiot like Jihai would think that Zhao Xiaodan was praising him. Lin Yi nodded and said, "Sect leader Zhao, there's no need to be so polite. I saw your help just now and I will remember it. Although it wasn't very useful, I won't turn my back on you." Hearing Lin Yi's words, Zhao Xiaodan immediately heaved a sigh of relief. In his heart, he thought that his life was saved. In the future, it would be better to stay away from Lin Yi. If something like this happened again, he would be scared to death. Lin Yi turned his head and looked at the man from Qingkuan sect. He was thinking about how to deal with him. From the big picture, keeping an early nascent soul master alive would be beneficial to the small ancient Jianghu. However, Lin Yi's big picture had always started with the safety of the people around him. Since Qingkuan sect and Five Elements sect had already joined hands to secretly attack him, keeping such a master alive would only bring trouble to himself. Moreover, after Lin Yi's Azure Cloud sect replaced the Qingkuan sect, the Qingkuan sect's people might choose to take revenge. In the future, when Lin Yi leaves the ancient society, it would be irresponsible to leave these people alive. In this case, killing this guy was the right choice. Without waiting for Lin Yi to make a decision, Zhao Xiaodan, who had been observing the Qingkuan sect's people, already had a clear idea of what was going on. He quietly moved a few steps closer to the Qingkuan sect's disciple. At the same time, he placed himself in a position where it would be easier for him to launch a sneak attack. The guy from Qingkuan sect had been focusing most of his attention on Lin Yi. He didn't even think that Zhao Xiantian would do something to him. When Zhao Xiantian's 3 blood spiritual beasts pounced on him and started tearing at his soul, he was still in a daze. He didn't know what was going on. Zhao Xiaodan's strength was originally higher than the Qingkuan sect's early nascent soul realm expert. Adding on the fact that he launched a sneak attack first, it could be said that he had the absolute advantage in an instant. He didn't leave any chance for the Qingkuan sect's disciple. Senior Lin, this bastard from the Qingkuan sect actually said that I, Zhao Xiaodan, would collude with Yin Jihai to cheat. This is simply too much. This is intolerable. If I don't kill him today, our evil warding sect will never be able to raise our heads in the future. So, Senior Lin, please don't stop me. I must kill him today. Zhao Xiaodan's face was filled with anger. He raised his head high and said with righteousness. Lin Yi almost thought that what he said was true. Lin Yi looked at the Qingkuan sect's disciple with a strange expression. He was almost dead. Even if he wanted to stop Zhao Xiaodan, he wouldn't be able to, right? Zhao Xiaodan was a smart guy. He attacked without hesitation. First, he helped Lin Yi solve the problem. Second, he showed his loyalty to the evil warding sect. Even the Qingkuan sect's nascent soul realm elder was killed. From now on, the evil warding sect could only follow Lin Yi and the Green Cloud sect to the end. Five Elemental sect and Qingkuan sect were allies. From now on, the evil warding sect would never be on the same side as these two sections. Do as you wish. Don't worry about us. Lin Yi nodded and said casually. Then, he looked at Zhao Xiaodan and said, you can be considered a genius. A wise man submits to circumstances. Zhao Xiaodan was overjoyed when he heard Lin Yi's praise. He thought that he did the right thing this time. So, he quickly killed the Qingkuan sect's disciple and dug out Yin Jihai's 3 inner cores. He held them with both hands and presented them to Lin Yi. Senior Lin, this is your inner core. Please keep it well. Although they were the inner cores of the sea beast puppets, their quality was no different from the normal early-stage nascent soul realm sea beasts. Zhao Xiaodan gave 3 to Lin Yi. He was quite envious. Unfortunately, Zhao Xiaodan didn't do anything to kill the 3 puppets. Of course, he couldn't ask for a share of the inner core. Hee, sect leader Zhao's reminder was helpful. You can keep one for yourself. Lin Yi took 2 inner cores and left one in Zhao Xiaodan's hand. Zhao Xiaodan was pleasantly surprised. He looked like he wanted to accept it but didn't dare to accept it. He pretended to decline. This isn't good. I only said a few words and didn't help at all. It's not appropriate to accept an inner core of the sea beast of nascent soul realm. It's just an inner core. I won't let anyone who chooses to follow me suffer. Lin Yi said with a smile. Since Zhao Xiaodan showed his loyalty, Lin Yi wouldn't treat him badly. An inner core of the sea beast of nascent soul realm was just the beginning. After that, Lin Yi didn't care about Zhao Xiaodan anymore. He handed the 2 inner cores to Leng Leng and said, "These 2 inner cores belong to the sea beasts that Wu Qing and you killed. So, they belong to your Snow Sword sect. Keep them well." "Oh, thank you." Leng Leng didn't say much. She didn't stand on ceremony with Lin Yi either. She agreed softly and kept the 2 inner cores. After Yin Jihai's death, her anger had subsided. She returned to her previous cold temperament. Bing Wuqing also said, "Thank you, boss." Then, there was nothing else. Zhao Xiaodan looked at them. Why were they all like this? It seemed that there was no need for formalities. If he continued to decline, Lin Yi might really take it back and give it to someone else. So, he quickly kept the inner cores and thanked Lin Yi with a face full of smiles. "Thank you, Senior Lin. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. I'll do my best to do it for you. It's been a long day, let's find a place to rest." Chapter 5596. In fact, the cliff platform where they were now was a very good place, but there would inevitably be some bloody smell after the battle just now. It would not take much effort to find another place, and they would not have to endure the unpleasant smell here. "There is a cave there." Leng Leng pointed to a position about 20 meters above them and said. Lin Yi had also discovered the cave with his divine sense. The entrance of the cave was not blocked, so the inside was quite dry and spacious. It was more than 100 square meters, which was more than enough for them to rest. "The cave seems to be good, let's go there." Lin Yi made a decision and moved them to the cave. Those who needed to cultivate practiced, and those who needed to recover recovered. Zhao Dan wanted to build a good relationship with Lin Yi, so he came over with a smile and tried to strike up a conversation. "Senior Lin, it must have been a hard day, right? It's really not easy to hunt sea beasts. If there are too many people, the sea beasts will hide. If there are too few people, we might be hunted by the sea beasts. It's really troublesome." Lin Yi nodded, looked at Zhao Dan and said, "Sect leader Zhao, do you know how many people from Qingkuan sect and 5 Elements sect came this time?" The early stage nascent soul realm and Ma Mingyuan from 5 Elements sect were not powerful people, but if the tribulation passing sage and Ma Zayden also came to the endless sea, they would be a bigger threat. It was not a big threat to Lin Yi, but to other people who had a good relationship with Lin Yi, such as Ling Tianyu and Primordial Invincible. If these 2 people targeted Ling Tianyu and the others, Primordial Invincible alone might not be able to protect them. As for the Chu family and Soaring Heaven sect, any tribulation passing sage would be able to sweep them away. However, these 2 people were the representatives of the 4 big sects, so they would not leave the ruined town easily. After all, Shengguan Qingyun was still watching over there. Zhao Dan was a smart person, and belonged to the kind of person who listened to others' words. Of course, he understood what Lin Yi was worried about, so he did not dare to speak nonsense. After thinking carefully, he said, "I have not heard of the specifics. After all, the people of Qingkuan sect will not deliberately talk about this kind of thing with us. However, Ma Mingyuan from 5 Elements sect should also be here, because when Qingkuan sect asked us to cooperate, they mentioned his name." Ma Mingyuan had indeed come, but he had already died one step ahead of them. Apart from Ma Mingyuan, Zhao Xiaodan didn't have any other information. Therefore, Lin Yi asked Zhao Xiaodan about the Heaven and Earth sect and the 5 Elements sect. Since he was going to deal with these 2 sects, it was necessary to collect more information. Even a lion would go all out to catch a rabbit. Lin Yi wouldn't be negligent in this aspect. After talking for a while, Lin Yi suddenly stopped talking and raised his head slightly. His divine sense covered the entire island, so he could immediately know the slightest movement. These are the 2 from the Yin sect. When Zhao Yuandan saw that Lin Yi had suddenly stopped talking, he found it strange. Then, he realized what Lin Yu had discovered. 2 flying spirit beasts were descending nearby. On top of the flying spirit beasts were Yun Feiyang and Zhou Baixiang of the Yin Cloud sect. They seem to be in a bit of a panic. Lin Yi nodded. Due to the interference of the turbulent tidal currents, after entering this island, Lin Yi's divine sense could only cover the entire island. He couldn't sense the situation outside the island. Therefore, the two from the Yun sect weren't discovered by Lin Yi until they passed through the interference of the turbulent tidal currents. As they were talking, another two flying spirit beasts rushed into the island from another direction. Their speed was slightly faster than the two from the Yun sect. Lin Yi's divine sense turned. It was actually Primordial Invincible and Ling Tianyu, whom he was worried about just now. This is a bit strange. Let's go out and take a look. Lin Yi called out to Bing Wuqing and the others and rushed out first. If Zhou Baixiang and Yun Feiyang were in a panic, it wouldn't be a big deal. However, Primordial Invincible seemed to be in a bit of a mess. Moreover, the two of them did not come from the same direction. This made Lin Yi feel a bit uneasy. Bing Wuqing and Jin Weifeng immediately caught up with them, and vaguely protected Duan Muyu and Cold Leng in the middle. Zhao Dan, on the other hand, led his subordinate and rushed out with a face full of loyalty. They had to seize this opportunity to perform well. Although the two from the Yun sect and Primordial Invincible came from different directions, they both landed on the highest peak of the island. The peak was only 100 meters above the ground from where Lin Yi and the others were. Therefore, in the end, it was Lin Yi and the others who arrived first and waited on the peak. Master Lin, you're here too. When Primordial Invincible saw Lin Yi and the others, he was delighted at first. Then, he looked a little distressed. After jumping off the flying spirit beast, he quickly walked over with Ling Tianyu. When Zhou Baixiang and Yun Feiyang saw Lin Yi and Jin Weifeng, they inevitably felt a little awkward. They cupped their fists and greeted them from afar. It was a greeting. They had no intention of talking to them, nor did they leave the place to keep a distance from Lin Yi. What happened? Lin Yi nodded and greeted them. Then, he asked directly. From the expressions of Primordial Invincible and Ling Tianyu, something unexpected must have happened. It's the sea beasts. The sea beasts are rioting. Primordial Invincible's expression was extremely solemn. This was not the first time he had come to the boundless sea to hunt sea beasts for their cores. However, this was the first time he had seen the scene of the sea beasts rioting. Ling Tianyu's face was a little pale. After taking a few quick breaths, he said, "It's too scary. There were at least 100 nascent soul stage sea beasts chasing us just now. There were more than 1,000 gold core stage sea beasts. Among them, there was no lack of peak late nascent soul stage sea beasts or even peak nascent soul stage sea beasts. Although we pulled the flying spirit beasts higher, we were still forced down by the sea beasts' attacks. If it wasn't for this island, our flying spirit beasts would have been beaten into the sea by the sea beasts." Zhou Baixiang and Yun Feiyang should have been paying attention to the movements here. After hearing Ling Tianyu's words, they couldn't help but move closer to Lin Yi. Needless to say, these two were in the same situation as Primordial Invincible and Yun Feiyang. Although he knew this, Lin Yi still frowned and asked, "Is the situation in other directions the same?" Primordial Invincible nodded and said, "It's hard to say the specific number, but there are indeed many sea beasts gathering in the nearby sea area. The two people of the Guiding Cloud sect should know something about it." Lin Yi turned to Zhou Baixiang and Yun Feiyang and waved. "Elder Zhou, sect leader Yun, now that we are all in the same boat, why don't you come over and discuss it?" There were hundreds of nascent soul stage sea beasts and thousands of gold core stage sea beasts behind Primordial Invincible and Yun Feiyang. No matter how powerful Lin Yi's divine sense was, he couldn't kill so many sea beasts at once. Moreover, this was only a road, so now Lin Yi needed to collect more information. Chapter 5597. Zhou Baixiang and Yun Feiyang were well aware of how bad the current situation was. This island could only be a temporary shelter. Once the sea beasts gathered, they could sink the island in minutes. Right now, only by working together with more people would they have a higher chance of survival. So after Lin Yi called out to the two of them, they immediately ran over and said anxiously, we came from the same direction. The sea beasts' levels and numbers are similar to the immemorial mountain range. There are also countless sea beasts gathering in the direction of the immemorial mountain range. Although there aren't that many nascent soul realm sea beasts, the number of gold core realm sea beasts is even more terrifying. Lin Yi frowned deeply. From what they described, the sea beast rampage this time was a relatively large area. In a situation like this, the chances of escaping with flying spirit beasts was very low. It wasn't that sea beasts didn't have methods to attack targets in the sky. In fact, it was quite the opposite. Most sea beasts could attack targets in the sky, but it wasn't very useful if they were alone. Humans could dodge them easily, but it was a different story when it came to group attacks. It was hard to defend against. Why would the sea beasts rampage? Do you have any clues about this? Lin Yi looked at the faces of the immemorial undefeated realm cultivators one by one, but only saw a blank look. Obviously, they didn't have any clue. Yunfei Yang said with a worried face, "Normally, the scale of this hunting operation is quite small, so it's impossible for the beasts to riot. Although we don't know what happened inside, we don't have time to figure it out. First, we have to think about how to get out of the endless sea." Everyone knew this, but there was nothing they could do about it. If there were sea beasts rampaging in one direction, they could still escape from another direction. However, the situation seemed to be that they were surrounded by sea beasts from all directions. There was no way they could escape. Lin Yi called his flying spirit beast and jumped on it. He said to everyone, "I will fly up and see what the situation is. You guys prepare to fight. Those amphibious sea beasts should be attacking the island soon." These words caused everyone's heart to tremble. What he said was very reasonable. With their strength, 3 to 5 nascent soul stage sea beasts wouldn't be a problem. But if there were 30 to 50 of them, it wouldn't be a problem anymore. Instead, it would be a problem for them to escape. Lin Yi patted the flying-type spirit beast beneath him, and with a flap of its wings, it shot up into the sky like a sharp arrow piercing through the clouds. Very quickly, it broke through the interference of the tidal turbulence that had isolated Divine Sense, and instantly spread out his Divine Sense. In the next second, Lin Yi was shocked by the scene that his Divine Sense had scanned. He couldn't help but gasp. As far as his Divine Sense could reach, there were sea beasts everywhere. Roughly estimating, there were at least 400 to 500 nascent soul stage beasts and more than 5,000 golden core stage beasts. As for foundation establishment stage beasts, there were tens of thousands of them. With such a number, even if they stood still and let Lin Yi kill them, he would definitely not be able to kill them all. Luckily, these sea beasts don't like land. Otherwise, we would only need to mobilize less than a tenth of the number here to sweep through the entire ancient underworld. Lin Yi couldn't help but mutter to himself. He then controlled the flying-type spirit beast to make a violent evasive maneuver. In just a short period of time, more than 10 attacks from the sea beasts had already landed on Lin Yi. Fortunately, Lin Yi's Divine Sense had 360 degrees of Divine Sense without any blind spots. Thus, he was able to easily dodge the attacks. Before more of the sea beasts could attack, Lin Yi had already commanded the flying-type spirit beast to descend quickly. Flying in the air was indeed too dangerous. At the moment, only the small island was slightly safer. Because of the interference of the tidal turbulence, Lin Yi was unable to see the situation outside. At the same time, the strong cultivators of the sea beasts were also unable to see the situation on the small island clearly. As long as all the sea beasts did not focus their attacks on the small island at the same time, they would still have a chance to catch their breath for the time being. After landing on the top of the small island, Lin Yi had already started to condense super elixir fire bombs in his hands. There were too many sea beasts outside. Whether it was the soul reaping hand or the Divine Sense vortex, both were super effective methods in small-scale battles. However, when faced with the sea beast tide, only the super elixir fire bombs would have enough lethality and destructive power. Oh no, the sea beasts have really landed on the island. As soon as Lin Yi landed, Primordial Invincible's expression changed slightly, and he shouted in a low voice. Although most of the sea beasts in the sea had the ability to attack targets high in the sky, they could not leave the water for too long. Take Jihai's swordfish sea beast for example. If they left the water, they could only release one attack at most. Therefore, the sea beasts that had landed on the island this time were all amphibious sea beasts, such as the sea crab sea beast that Lin Yi and Bing Wuqing had encountered before, the sea turtle sea beast just now, and sea lions and seals. Although this was a very small proportion of the entire endless sea, for Lin Yi and the others, it was already shocking enough. Moreover, this time, the sea beasts did not come from a fixed direction. The entire coastline of the small island was the landing point for these sea beasts. According to their divine sense, there were at least 500 to 600 amphibious sea beasts appearing on the small island. And this was only the sea beasts that were near the small island. There were still many more coming from further away. There are 11 original infant stage sea beasts, 122 golden core stage sea beasts, and the rest are all foundation building stage sea beasts. Apart from Lin Yi, Primordial Invincible was the strongest among them, and at the same time the most experienced. Therefore, when he saw that Lin Yi was preparing for a big move, he immediately took the initiative to detect the enemy's situation. Among the original infant stage sea beasts, there is one original infant complete stage sea beast, 2 original infant late stage sea beasts, 1 original infant middle stage sea beast, and the rest are original infant early stage sea beasts and original infant peak sea beasts. However, these original infant stage sea beasts are scattered, so if we are fast enough, we can take them down one by one. Although Lin Yi was distracted by condensing 2 super alchemic fire bombs, he did not relax the detection of his divine sense. He immediately followed up Primordial Invincible's words. The situation was urgent, so Lin Yi did not care about anything else. He directly ordered, "The few of you original infant stage move together. According to the order of the weakest to the strongest, go and kill the weakest original infant stage sea beasts. I will deal with the strongest original infant complete stage sea beast. Ignore the golden core stage and foundation building sea beasts for now. Wait until the original infant stage sea beasts are killed. Those who have not reached the original infant stage will stay at the top of the mountain and watch these flying spirit beasts. Understood? Understood." Primordial Invincible expressed his support for Lin Yi without hesitation. Bing Wuqing and Jin Weifeng spoke almost at the same time as Primordial Invincible. Jin Weifeng was originally a member of the Blue Cloud sect and was Lin Yi's grand disciple. It was normal for him to listen to Lin Yi's orders. Chapter 5598. In addition, Primordial Invincible was once the number 1 person in the ancient small Jianghu, and now he was at least in the top 5 of the strongest Yuanying realm experts. Bing Wuqing was a genius cultivator who appeared to be at the peak of the middle stage of Yuanying realm, but with the secret help of Lin Yi, her real strength had reached the Yuanying realm. Both of them had expressed their full support for Lin Yi, so what else could Yun Feiyang and Zhou Baixiang say? Not to mention that Zhao Xiaodan had also expressed his approval. Only God knew that Zhao Xiaodan was still regretting his slow reaction, for fear that Lin Yi would think that he was not proactive. Fortunately, Zhou Baixiang and Yun Feiyang were at the bottom, so Zhao Xiaodan could secretly rejoice that he was not the last one. "I will be the arrowhead, Wuqing will guard the rear, Elder Zhou and sect leader Zhao will guard the flanks, and sect leader Yun and Elder Jin will support from the middle. Maintain the formation, and don't get separated." Primordial Invincible organized the other 5 people to form an arrow formation, and without delay, they directly rushed to the first target, the sea beast. "You guys be careful." Lin Yi turned around and said, and then rushed down from another direction. There was the strongest Yuanying realm sea beast there, and Lin Yi had to get rid of it first. Otherwise, if the 6 Yuanying realm cultivators were delayed by this sea beast, they would be completely trapped in the sea beast tide and unable to escape. Lin Yi's plan was to rely on the absolute strength of the 6 people to suppress the sea beast and quickly kill the Yuanying realm sea beast. In this way, although there were many sea beasts in the gold core stage, at least they would not form an attack wave that was enough to kill Lin Yi's people, so it would be much easier to deal with them. You be careful too. Duan Muyu responded loudly to Lin Yi, and opened his mouth coldly, but in the end, like Duan Muyu, he did not say anything. He just watched Lin Yi go down with a faint worry in his eyes. Ling Tianyu forced a smile and said, "You don't have to worry. Brother Lin's magic has already exceeded our imagination. If there is anyone who can help us escape from this situation, it can only be Brother Lin." The peak stage gold core late stage cultivator from the Bai Xie sect did not say anything. Although there was fear on his face, he was still relatively calm. He released his blood spirit beasts, 60 thumb-sized tiger peaks. When Lin Yi rushed down the mountain, his hands were still in the state of condensing the super alchemic fire bomb. However, this was used to deal with the sea beasts in the sea, so he couldn't use it now. Therefore, when he encountered low-level sea beasts blocking his way, Lin Yi directly dodged them, not stopping at all. The island was not big to begin with, and the top of the mountain was in the central area. Therefore, under Lin Yi's full speed, he had already rushed to the vicinity of the Yuanying realm peak sea beast in 2 or 3 breaths. Seeing the super alchemic fire bomb in Lin Yi's hand, the Yuanying realm peak sea beast clearly felt danger. It actually roared and quickly retreated, trying to open up the distance between it and Lin Yi. At the same time, it commanded more than 10 gold core stage sea beasts to surround Lin Yi from all directions. Even if they couldn't do anything to Lin Yi, they wanted to try to exhaust the super alchemic fire bomb in Lin Yi's hand. Lin Yi's face showed a trace of mockery. In this situation, Lin Yi could not use the divine sense whirlpool to probe. Yin Jihai's sea beast puppet could use the divine sense whirlpool to convert the alchemic fire to kill the blood spirit beasts. But for normal sea beasts, especially the Yuanying realm peak sea beasts, the divine sense whirlpool could not directly enter their bodies to attack their primordial spirit. At most, it could only pull the primordial spirit out and slowly tear it apart. Lin Yi was still surrounded by more than 10 gold core stage sea beasts. He might only have one chance to attack. If this sea beast could resist the divine sense attack, then Lin Yi could only throw out a super alchemic fire bomb. Fortunately, this did not happen. Lin Yi's divine sense whirlpool successfully hooked out the primordial spirit of the Yuanying realm peak sea beast, causing the strongest sea beast to directly collapse to the ground and lose the ability to move. However, Lin Yi was multitasking at this time. He condensed 2 super alchemic fire bombs at the same time. He also had to pay attention to dodging the attacks of more than 10 gold core stage sea beasts. He also had to use the divine sense whirlpool to accurately attack the Yuanying realm peak sea beast. For a while, he felt a little overwhelmed. So after the divine sense whirlpool pulled out the primordial spirit of the sea beast, the primordial spirit swallowed instinctively. Lin Yi, who had just killed the Yuanying realm peak sea beast, was suddenly shocked. His divine sense tumor had not been completely refined. How could he dare to swallow the primordial spirit at this moment? Especially in this kind of chaotic battle, if he accidentally couldn't suppress it and wanted to break through, he might be directly dismembered by the sea beast. The first profound ascending stage master to be dismembered by a low-level sea beast when breaking through. Lin Yi didn't want to engrave such a shameful word on his tombstone, so he subconsciously reversed the swallowing ability, and then the primordial spirit of the Yuanying realm peak sea beast quickly flowed into the super alchemic fire bomb in Lin Yi's palms, causing the super alchemic fire bomb to expand about twice in an instant. Damn! Scared me to death. Lin Yi couldn't help swearing, and cold sweat flowed down his back. After adding the divine sense whirlpool, the speed of condensing the super alchemic fire bomb was already a lot faster. This sudden surge almost made Lin Yi lose control of these 2 super alchemic fire bombs. If these 2 super alchemic fire bombs lose control at the same time, the picture would be too beautiful. Lin Yi himself couldn't imagine it. It was estimated that Lin Yi, who was in the center of the explosion, would not even have a bone left. Even Lin Yi, who had always been calm, couldn't help swearing. Without caring about wiping the cold sweat on his forehead, Lin Yi directly launched 3 divine sense whirlpools, and transformed part of it into divine sense whirlpool, raging all the sea beasts of the gold core stage that surrounded him. There may not be a way to deal with the Yuanying realm sea beasts, but it was more than enough to deal with these gold core stage sea beasts. Without waiting to completely deal with these gold core stage sea beasts, Lin Yi turned around and ran back. The 2 super alchemic fire bombs in his hands made him feel scared. It was better to go back and stabilize it first. Speaking of which, how did the power suddenly soar just now? Lin Yi calmed down and thought about it, and his face suddenly became a little strange. It seemed that because he didn't want to swallow the soul of the sea beasts, he subconsciously pushed the soul out. It just so happened that Lin Yi's hands were condensing the super alchemic fire bomb. Not only did it require a lot of true qi, but it also required a lot of divine sense power. And the soul, to put it bluntly, was the condensation of divine sense power. Lin Yi never thought that the soul hooked by the soul-reaping hand could have such a use. In this way, there were a lot of soul hooked in the space of Lin Yi's jade pendant that had not been dealt with yet. Chapter 55-99. After thinking about it, Lin Yi stopped and once again used the soul-hooking hand to hook the soul of a sea beast in the gold core stage. He first imprisoned it in the space of the jade pendant, and then used it to try again later. Originally, Lin Yi had some concerns about using the super pill fire bomb. After all, true qi could be extracted from the space of the jade pendant indefinitely. However, Lin Yi only had so much divine sense. Even if he reduced the proportion of divine sense in the super pill fire bomb, he could not use it all the time. When dealing with so many sea beasts outside, it could only serve as a deterrent. Now, the problem was completely solved. Just now, the 2 super pill fire bombs were directly enhanced to the limit that Lin Yi could control. Among them, the proportion of divine sense in the pill fire bomb accounted for more than 80%. Lin Yi felt that it was too wasteful. Such a high proportion of divine sense in the pill fire bomb would only reduce the power of the super pill fire bomb. However, there was no other way. If he continued to inject true qi into the pill fire bomb, he was afraid that it would directly explode. Therefore, Lin Yi thought of using the sea beast in the gold core stage to try again next time. Returning to the top of the mountain, Lin Yi took the time to pay attention to the situation on the side of Primordial Invincible and the others. This group of 6 people was just as Lin Yi had planned. They crushed all the way with absolute strength. Although he had told them to ignore the sea beasts in the gold core stage and the foundation establishment stage, they could still kill them when they rushed over. Therefore, wherever the 6 people passed, it was like a speedboat cutting through the waves on the water. In such a short time, Primordial Invincible and a few people had killed 6 nascent soul stage sea beasts in a row. The remaining 4 saw that the situation was not good and wanted to gather together. Unfortunately, it was too late. Even if it was a head-on battle, the 6 people were enough to crush the last 4 nascent soul stage sea beasts. Not to mention, before the last gathering, Primordial Invincible killed another nascent soul stage sea beast. Seeing that things were going so smoothly, Lin Yi felt a lot more at ease. He leaped onto the flying spirit beast and took off again. He only had time to say, "I'm going to negotiate." After flying up to the sky, Lin Yi became the target of the sea beasts in the endless sea again. This time, hundreds of attacks came from all directions. If Lin Yi hadn't used his soul consciousness to detect the incoming attacks, even if he wasn't injured, the flying beast he had stolen from Ma Mingyuan would have been torn into pieces. Lin Yi cried out in alarm. He really shouldn't have let the flying spirit beast come out this time. In this kind of situation, the flying spirit beast wouldn't be able to provide much help. Instead, it would become a burden to Lin Yi. It would be much more convenient for Lin Yi to fly in his soul form. Go back to the island. Be careful. Taking advantage of the missed attack, Lin Yi hurriedly sent the flying spirit beast back. He pushed off the back of the flying spirit beast with the tip of his foot. At the same time, he gave it a kick so that it could land on the island even faster. After leaving the flying spirit beast, Lin Yi immediately turned his body into a soul form. However, both of his palms were still in the soul form. This was to prevent the two Super Dan fire bombs from escaping his control. I'll let you eat an egg first. I'll let you know that I'm not a vegetarian. Lin Yi snorted. He turned around and flew to the densest area of the sea beasts. There weren't many Yuanying stage sea beasts there, but the rest of the sea beasts were quite dense. Lin Yi didn't know how many sea beasts would be killed by this Super Dan firebomb. In order to avoid the Super Dan firebomb being intercepted by the sea beasts, Lin Yi had to get closer to attack. Fortunately, 99% of his soul form was in the soul form. He could be immune to most of the attacks. Coupled with the defense of the God-controlling bracelet, the occasional divine sense attack that appeared would be avoided. If he couldn't avoid it, it wouldn't pose any threat. Soon, Lin Yi appeared less than 10 meters above the sea with the two Super Dan fire bombs. The rioting sea beasts were going crazy. In an instant, thousands of attacks besieged Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't have a chance to speak even if he wanted to. He could only hurriedly throw a Super Dan firebomb and rise to the sky at full speed. While avoiding the attack, he also avoided the possible aftermath of the Super Dan firebomb. Although more than 80% of this Super Dan firebomb was spiritual awareness Dan fire, because the source was the soul of the sea beasts, not Lin Yi's own spiritual awareness, the influence that could be exerted on it was very small. Lin Yi himself was not sure. He could only try to control the direction of the explosion as much as possible. In the violent explosion, a huge spiral-shaped semicircle rose in the sea below. There was a strong energy fluctuation inside. A terrifying destructive aura was rapidly brewing. It would explode at any time. Lin Yi no longer cared about anything else. He threw another Super Dan firebomb to the side. After completely transforming into a soul, he desperately fled in the opposite direction. The influence on the Super Dan firebomb could be said to be a failure, but it was not completely useless. At least it gave Lin Yi a chance to escape. The power of the explosion would be very weak in this direction. Of course, that was only relative to other directions. If he was touched by a trace, Lin Yi's soul would be instantly destroyed. This time, he was really playing with his life. Originally, Lin Yi wanted to use the second Super Dan firebomb to deter the sea beasts. But if he held it in his hand to escape, it would explode if he was not careful. Lin Yi did not dare to take this risk. He could only throw it to another group of sea beasts first. The first shocking explosion shocked all the sea beasts. So when the second Super Dan firebomb was thrown by Lin Yi, a large number of sea beasts were stunned. For a moment, they did not even attack. The biggest weakness of the Super Dan firebomb was that its attack speed was too slow. For example, if Lin Yi threw a flying knife, its speed would definitely be 2 or 3 times faster than throwing a Super Dan firebomb. From this, it could be clearly seen that as long as the opponent reacted fast enough, there was a chance to intercept the Dan firebomb midway. Of course, the power of the intercepted Super Dan firebomb would not be weakened, but it was still much better than directly exploding on the body. This was Lin Yi's plan. No matter what, in any case, killing one was one. It was much better than keeping it in his hand and killing himself. Unexpectedly, the second Super Dan firebomb was not intercepted at all. It fell steadily into the group of sea beasts, and then there was a second shocking explosion. The power of the 2 consecutive explosions formed a chain of explosions. The energy of the same source fused and split, making the power even more powerful. Lin Yi did not want to have this kind of surprise at all. If he had known earlier, he would not have flown so close to throw it. Chapter 5600. If Lin Yi had not chosen the direction with the least power, he would have died along with those sea beasts. Originally, it would have been difficult for Lin Yi to escape from the aftermath of the upgraded explosion. Fortunately, he had used the strong airflow to directly push himself far away. In addition, his primordial spirit had the characteristic of nothingness, so he did not suffer any serious injuries. Looking back, Lin Yi himself felt a lingering fear. The 2 super pill firebombs had directly wiped out 1 to 2,000 sea beasts. In terms of numbers, it did not seem to be a large proportion of the sea beast tide. However, there were more than 100 Yuanying stage sea beasts and about 500 golden core stage sea beasts. This ratio was very terrifying. Lin Yi secretly wiped away the cold sweat on his forehead. He immediately changed back to his primordial spirit body and landed on the body of a golden core stage sea beast that was scared stiff on the surface of the sea. The soul-reaping hand directly hooked the primordial spirit. With a flip of his hands, he once again condensed 2 super pill fire bombs. Of course, in such a short period of time, these 2 bombs were just empty shells. In terms of power, he estimated that they would only be able to scare the Foundation establishment stage sea beasts. I know you can understand my words. Listen. I do not want to start an all-out war with you sea beasts. Therefore, I want to see the leader of your sea beasts. Immediately. Lin Yi stepped on the body of the golden core stage sea beast that had lost its primordial spirit. His face was incomparably solemn as the waves undulated up and down. The sea beasts that originally wanted to attack Lin Yi, after seeing the super pill fire bombs in Lin Yi's hands, felt a little guilty and retreated. They did not know that the bombs in Lin Yi's hands were only used to scare people. In fact, Lin Yi was also puzzled. He had just obtained the primordial spirit and wanted to immediately use it to make the super pill fire bombs. However, he could not smoothly integrate it into his body. True qi continuously flowed into the palms of his hands. But just by doing this, not only was the speed slow, the power was also much weaker. After thinking carefully, Lin Yi realized that he was still missing a crucial step. Primordial Spirit Devour. Then he immediately stopped and reversed. Sure enough, the primordial spirit of the Jidon stage sea beast, which had been unmoved just now, was immediately divided into 2 parts and poured into the palms of Lin Yi's hands. 2 super pill fire bombs were formed almost instantaneously, and they were not as exaggerated as the previous 2. They were completely under the control of Lin Yi. Lin Yi was overjoyed. He continued to inject vital qi and ordinary alchemic fire to adjust the overall proportion. He snorted coldly at the group of sea beasts. Don't think that you have a lot of sea beasts. As you can see, if I want to, I can kill most of you without a problem. Hurry up and call your commander out. All peace came from fighting. This sentence had always been the truth. If Lin Yi had said in the beginning that he wanted to see the commander of the sea beasts, he would have been torn to pieces by the sea beasts. However, after Lin Yi displayed his terrifying attack power, the sea beasts did not dare to take the initiative to attack him. Not only that, in a very short period of time, a huge sea snake swam over from the passage that the sea beasts had made way for. The sea snake stopped a few meters away from Lin Yi, raised its head out of the water, and spoke to Lin Yi in the human language. Human, I am the strongest sea beast in this sea area. I can also be considered the commander here. What do you want to say? I want to know why you guys are rioting. Under normal circumstances, you sea beasts don't have much contact with each other. In fact, many of you are natural enemies. Why have you joined forces this time to chase us humans? Lin Yi raised his head and looked into the sea snake's eyes as he asked calmly. The sea beast riot this time was indeed very strange. Lin Yi had to figure out the reason. Otherwise, his plan to hunt sea beasts in the future would not be able to be carried out smoothly. If a sea beast riot was triggered every time, it was hard to say if the sea beasts would directly attack the land and completely wipe out the primordial underworld. The sea snake's cold eyes fixed on Lin Yi. After a moment, it said, "We do have many natural enemies, but the biggest natural enemy is you humans. Is there anything strange about hunting humans?" The sea snake's answer made Lin Yi a little speechless. Indeed, the sea beasts in the boundless ocean had a complete food chain, but in terms of natural enemies, it seemed that humans were the common natural enemy of all sea beasts. This was because in the eyes of humans, all sea beasts were the same after they turned into inner cores. Human, the martial art in your hand is indeed very powerful. It can be said to be the strongest martial art I've seen so far. However, it's a little ridiculous if you want to use it to threaten us. Do you know how many sea beasts there are in the boundless ocean? I'm not afraid to tell you that the lowest unit is billions. Do you think killing these sea beasts will scare us? There was a trace of disdain in the sea snake's eyes. Although it could feel that the light ball in Lin Yi's hand was enough to kill it easily, it still showed a trace of disdain without fear. Lin Yi was silent for a moment before he said, "Indeed, I can't kill all the sea beasts in the boundless ocean, but I can lead my people to fight a bloody path out of here. Don't doubt that I can use this martial art continuously. You won't believe me even if I tell you. This martial art doesn't consume too much energy for my body." After saying that, Lin Yi directly threw the super alchemy fire bomb in his right hand into the distance. Of course, he chose the place where it had exploded before. Now was the time for negotiation, and it was not the right time to continue provoking the sea beasts. When the super alchemy fire bomb exploded in the distance, a new super alchemy fire bomb had already condensed in Lin Yi's right palm. This time, Lin Yi turned the primordial spirit of the golden core stage sea beast into spiritual alchemy fire and injected it into it. Then, with the vital energy in the space of the jade pendant, it took shape instantly. There was nothing to say about the speed, but because it lacked the ordinary alchemy fire that Lin Yi had, the power would not be as strong as the explosion just now. The sea snake lowered its head slightly and stared at Lin Yi coldly. To be honest, it did not expect that this powerful martial arts skill of Lin Yi could not only be used continuously, but also be released at an astonishing speed. In this way, it seemed that it was not completely impossible for Lin Yi to leave with the people on the island. In fact, Lin Yi was also a little afraid in his heart. It was indeed possible to release super alchemy fire bombs continuously after solving the problem of using the primordial spirit of the sea beast as the spiritual alchemy fire material. But the problem was that the power of this thing was amazing, and Lin Yi himself was not very good at controlling it. Just now, he almost blew himself up. If he really took people to break out of the encirclement and threw it all the way, God knows if they would be the first to be killed. Chapter 5601. To put it bluntly, Lin Yi was acting so tough to scare the clown sea serpent. It was a negotiation, and bluffing was the most important method. Seeing that the clown sea serpent did not speak, Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "I don't know why you're suddenly rioting this time, but I'm only concerned about whether my people and I can return to land. It's best if both of us can live in peace. After all, there's no deep hatred between us that can't be resolved, right?" Although Lin Yi had killed many sea beasts, the endless sea was a place where the strong preyed on the weak. The clown sea serpent, who was at the top of the food chain in the endless sea, would not care about how many low-level sea beasts Lin Yi had killed. Therefore, what Lin Yi said was still very reasonable. The clown sea serpent took a deep look at Lin Yi and nodded. "You're indeed a special human. If possible, I don't mind letting you go. Unfortunately, this matter is no longer something that I can make the decision on, unless you can hand over those humans." "Who?" Lin Yi frowned slightly. Could the clown sea serpent be talking about Primordial Invincible and the others? After all, the sea beasts were chasing after them. In fact, that was not right either. In the entire endless sea, the situation near the island was everywhere. It did not mean that this was the center of the sea beasts' riot. On the contrary, it was just a very ordinary small corner. Those few humans robbed a young member of our royal sea beast tribe. Unless you can hand over those people and guarantee that our royal sea beast tribe members' safety, the entire endless sea will become a forbidden place for all humans. The clown sea serpent did not continue to speak ambiguously. Instead, he simply and directly made his words clear. Lin Yi's heart trembled, and he could not help but want to curse. Which bastard was so free to kidnap a royal sea beast tribe member? The sea beasts in the entire endless sea were like a plate of loose sand. This was not wrong, but it did not mean that the sea beasts did not have a king. Once the king of the sea beasts appeared and gave an order, the sea beasts in the entire endless sea would respond immediately, just like the current sea beasts riot. Lin Yi took a deep breath and suppressed the shock in his heart. He was a calm and collected person, but he almost lost his composure when he heard this news. It could be seen how great the impact of this matter was. We don't know about this. Can you tell me in detail? Maybe I can find some clues to help you find your royal family members as soon as possible. Lin Yi's expression became serious as he said to the clown sea serpent solemnly. Although the clown sea serpent in front of him was at the peak of the nascent soul realm, Lin Yi could feel that this guy should have surpassed the level of the ordinary peak of the nascent soul realm. It could be said to be a top expert of the half-step profound ascension realm. If it was on the heavenly stage island, it might have advanced to the profound ascension realm at any time. It was really because of the restrictions of the thunder tribulation in the immemorial underworld that it was trapped in this realm and could not advance. Judging from the unintentional respect that the clown sea serpent showed when he mentioned the royal sea beast tribe, it was obviously not a member of the royal sea beast tribe, so it could be speculated that the strength of the royal sea beast tribe was definitely above it. Even if it was not at the profound ascension realm, the gap in racial talent could completely crush the clown sea serpent. For example, the azure dragon at the peak of the nascent soul realm and the spirit bird at the peak of the nascent soul realm, would they be equal because they were at the same level? There was no comparison at all. If they really fought, the azure dragon could kill a dozen spirit birds with one claw. Lin Yi really had a headache now. He did not know which stupid bird dared to offend the royal sea beast tribe of the boundless sea. If this matter was not handled well, his agreement with the old spirit eater beast would be nullified. The death-forbidden land of the human race was definitely not something that could be casually said. If it really reached that point, let alone hunting the sea beasts, it would be good enough if the sea beasts did not go to the land to hunt humans instead. The clown sea serpent seemed to really believe Lin Yi's words. After a little consideration, it said, "I'm not too sure about the specific situation, but I heard some general information from our royal family. If you can help us find those humans, not only will we let you leave safely this time, you will also become a friend of us sea beasts in the future." Lin Yi thought to himself, forget about being friends. I'm still counting on your inner cores. If we really become friends, I'll be too embarrassed to make a move on you since we're so familiar with each other. The clown sea serpent paused for a moment, as if he was organizing his thoughts, trying to think of a suitable way to say it. Yes, a member of our oceanic beast royal tribe was kidnapped by a few humans, then boarded a glowing metal disc, and instantly rushed into the sky. That speed was much faster than the fastest flying spirit beasts. I don't know what kind of secret treasure it is, but I've never seen it before. Lin Yi's eyes widened in shock. A glowing metal disc? Extremely fast? Are you sure you're not telling a science fiction story? Could it be that the ones who kidnapped the royal sea beasts were aliens in a UO? The clown sea serpent glanced at Lin Yi and keenly noticed Lin Yi's abnormality. It immediately asked, "Do you know what kind of secret treasure it is?" It's probably something called UO. The corners of Lin Yi's mouth twitched. If there was a person in front of him, he would be sure that the other party was talking nonsense. However, it was the clown sea serpent in front of him, so Lin Yi felt that it was not fake. Oi fu. That sounds like a very powerful secret treasure. The clown sea serpent looked a little confused, but then it asked excitedly, "Since you know about this kind of secret treasure, you must know who has it, right?" "I know, basically every alien has one." The absurd feeling in Lin Yi's heart could not dissipate. However, if he really thought about it carefully, other than the aliens, it seemed that the only place that could have something like a flying saucer in the ancient underworld was the center, right? "I can't be sure, but I do have some clues. If I'm not wrong." Lin Yi nodded slightly and did not give a definite answer. Speaking of which, the center had indeed been too quiet recently. He remembered that when he first entered the ancient underworld, the center had been expanding everywhere and doing things in a very high profile. Previously, Lin Yi was still wondering why he did not see anyone from the center at such an important occasion like the ancient convention. Now that he thought about it, it should be the center that was planning to kidnap the royal sea beasts, right? The clown sea serpent's eyes were filled with excitement, and he hurriedly asked, "It's good that you have a clue. Whether it's a guess or not, tell me first." As a top powerhouse among the sea beasts, the clown sea serpent was not a member of the royal family. However, in terms of bloodline, the clown sea serpent and the royal sea beasts were still related in ancient times. If he could find the members of the royal family this time, the clown sea serpent might have a chance to enter the royal family. Even if it was just a marginal position, it was definitely not something that could be compared to now. Chapter 5602. This was also the reason why the clown sea serpent would ignore the danger and personally come to negotiate with Lin Yi. Other than having absolute confidence in his own strength, he was also looking for an opportunity. Humans who could kill sea beasts on a large scale were certainly not ordinary people. If they wanted to find those humans, the sea beasts would not have an advantage over the human powerhouses. As it turned out, the clown sea serpent had made the right bet this time. Lin Yi really did have news about those humans. Even if it was an unconfirmed guess, it was much better than being clueless. Lin Yi pondered for a moment before saying, "I can help you find those humans, but the premise is that you must let the people on the island leave the boundless sea. There's no need for such a tragic battle between us. As long as they can leave safely, I will definitely do my best to rescue the members of the royal sea beasts." Deal. The clown sea serpent did not hesitate at all. The few humans on the island were nothing to it, so it was fine if it let them go. The most important thing was Lin Yi. If Lin Yi stayed here, there was a possibility that he could find the royal family members. That was more important than anything else. Lin Yi was a little stunned when the clown sea serpent agreed so readily. However, after thinking about it, he understood what the clown sea serpent was thinking. So, Lin Yi did not stand on ceremony and directly said to the clown sea serpent, "Then I'll have to trouble you to withdraw all the sea beasts on the island first. Otherwise, I'm afraid there won't be many left after I use a martial arts skill." "It's okay. There are plenty of sea beasts in the boundless sea. 1,000 or 800 of them are just my rations for a month. You guys can kill as many as you want," the clown sea serpent said indifferently, making Lin Yi sweat profusely. This existence at the top of the food chain of the sea beasts was indeed different. However, this way, Lin Yi was relieved. It seemed that the clown sea serpent really did not care much about killing so many sea beasts just now. Although the clown sea serpent said that, it was also afraid that Lin Yi would go crazy and implicate it again. Therefore, it turned around and let out a shrill scream, ordering all the sea beasts on the island to retreat. After a while, the clown sea serpent was surprised to find that although there were many sea beasts that had returned, there was not a single nascent soul stage beast. Most of the golden core stage beasts were also gone. It was one thing for Lin Yi to use the super pill fire bomb previously, but there was clearly no movement on the island, yet they had lost so many high-level sea beasts. It seemed that the strength of those humans could not be underestimated. Primordial Invincible and the others noticed that the sea beasts had retreated in an orderly manner. When they connected the shocking explosion outside the island and the huge wave that was created because of it, they believed that it was related to Lin Yi. Hence, they immediately rode on their flying spirit beasts and rushed out of the island. Then, the large number of broken sea beast corpses directly stunned them on the spot. They thought that the results of the battle on the island were already extremely glorious, but compared to the outside of the island, it was simply a joke. Seeing Lin Yi standing on the sea beast corpses on the surface of the sea, Primordial Invincible and the others immediately rushed over. Lin Yi was quite satisfied with this. At least these people were willing to ignore their own safety to support Lin Yi. Regardless of whether it was useful or not, it was still a good intention. "I'll have to trouble you to send a subordinate to send these people to the coast on the other side of the immemorial mountain range. I'll go with you. With just a few words from you, the information is still too little. I need to collect more information," Lin Yi said to the clown sea serpent, then turned his head and used True Chi to send a voice transmission to Primordial Invincible and the others. "There are some things that I need to investigate with these sea beasts. You guys collect the inner cores of the sea beasts that I killed and then go back directly to finish the competition. Don't worry about me, I will be back soon." Primordial Invincible, Bing Wuching, Jin Wei Feng, and the others looked at each other and then nodded slightly. Since Lin Yi had said so, they would do as he said. They knew very well that although they were already top experts in the primordial underworld, they were by Lin Yi's side most of the time. For example, in this current situation, if it weren't for the few of them, Lin Yi could easily escape from danger alone. Just looking at the sea beast corpses floating on the surface of the sea was enough to prove this point. After hearing Lin Yi's words, the clown sea serpent agreed happily. Then, he found a mid-stage nascent soul realm sea beast to open a path and told it to bring Primordial Invincible and the others out of the boundless sea. Then, he led Lin Yi to the deep sea. The rest of the sea beasts followed behind in a majestic manner. The scene was extremely spectacular. As for the sea beasts that were killed by Lin Yi, the clown sea serpent did not care at all. It was equivalent to tacitly agreeing to let Primordial Invincible and the others collect the inner cores. From this, it could be seen that the law of the jungle among the sea beasts had really reached a point where the strong preyed on the weak. Lin Yi frowned as he sat on the flying spirit beast and followed behind the clown sea serpent. There was a large number of sea beasts behind him, and there were even more sea beasts in front of him. The entire boundless sea was like a boiling pot of water, and there were sea beasts everywhere. If this matter was really caused by the center, then it was really hard to predict how it would develop in the end. With the center's technological strength, it was hard for Lin Yi to imagine what kind of shocking things they would come up with after kidnapping the members of the sea beast royal family. After flying for more than an hour, the clown sea serpent stopped moving forward. He raised his head and said to Lin Yi, "The members of our royal family were kidnapped by those humans in this area. That metal disc called Afu probably rushed out of the sea and flew away from the bottom of the sea in this place." Lin Yi controlled the flying spirit beast to get close to the sea and looked around. Naturally, he could not see anything other than the sea beasts all over the world. So, he could only ask the clown sea serpent with a bitter smile, "You should have seen those people and the UFO with the sea beasts, right? Can you let me ask about the situation?" The clown sea serpent shook its head and said, "There's no need to go through so much trouble. We can let you see it with your own eyes. Otherwise, we wouldn't have brought you here." After saying that, the clown sea serpent opened its mouth and let out a low roar. Two strange sea beasts nearby raised their heads, and a dazzling light lit up on their foreheads. At the same time, a pillar of light shot out and gathered in the sky. After the two pillars of light converged, they formed a white fog screen, and gradually, an image appeared in it. Lin Yi looked up at the sky in shock. Is this a movie? Or is it a 3D version? The clown sea serpent explained, "This is a rather useless innate ability of sea beasts. It's to create a small mirage in one place, but the scene that appears is not a reflection of other places, but what happened in this place in a day." Chapter 5603. If it was used for combat, this ability would indeed be a trash with a combat strength index of only 5. However, one mustn't overlook the fact that this was an ability that involved time and space. Even the most superficial knowledge couldn't conceal its brilliance. Only in groups like the sea beasts, which would die if they didn't fight, would there be such a thing as casting pearls before swine. As they spoke, the fog in the sky had faded, and the scene inside was exactly the same as the real world. Those who didn't know what was going on would be able to see an area of the endless sea in the sky, exactly the same as the one below. Lin Yi and the clown sea serpent did not continue talking. Instead, they carefully looked at everything in the sky, afraid that they would miss a single detail. First, a blue flood dragon about the size of a sea serpent soared into the sky from the sea. Needless to say, this should be the royal family of the sea beasts. Although it was not a real dragon, if this blue flood dragon could continue to level up, it might be able to be reborn and transform into a dragon after evolution. At this moment, Lin Yi suddenly guessed the Central's intention. A real dragon was not something that the Central could capture now, but the blue flood dragon, which was the royal family of the sea beasts closest to the dragon race, was the best substitute without a real dragon. There was no doubt that the Central's next step of research should be to extract the powerful genes of the Blue Flood Dragon. As for whether to clone a creature like the Blue Flood Dragon or fuse the Blue Flood Dragon's genes to create new combat weapons, it was not something that Lin Yi could guess at the moment. The scene in the sky continued to change. Following the Blue Flood Dragon rushing out of the sea were 4 humanoid creatures wearing alloy armor. When he saw these 4 people, Lin Yi immediately confirmed that it was definitely the Central. This was because the style of these alloy armors was very similar to the ones used by Kong Ming Ming on the Heavenly Island. Although there were some differences in the details, they were of the same origin. Under the siege of 4 guys who looked like Iron Man, the Blue Flood Dragon basically did not have much power to fight back. Although it was a member of the royal family of the sea beasts, the Blue Flood Dragon should still be in its juvenile stage, and its strength was only at the early stage of the nascent soul realm. Several mid-stage or even late-stage nascent soul realm sea beasts rushed to protect the Blue Flood Dragon, but they were blasted into pieces by the laser cannons in the hands of the 4 people in alloy armor. The whole process was very short. In just a breath's time, the Blue Flood Dragon was subdued by the 4 people. Then, the shiny metal disc that the clown sea serpent mentioned appeared. The 4 people entered the UFO with the Blue Flood Dragon and instantly rushed into the sky and disappeared from the scene. Lin Yi let out a breath of turbid air. If he did not recognize the style of the alloy armor, just by looking at the scene, it really seemed like an alien invasion. However, since he was sure that it was done by the Central, Lin Yi had to find a way to destroy the Central's plan. No matter what the Central wanted to do, if it was what the enemy wanted to do, he just had to destroy it wantonly. Lin Yi had already made up his mind to save the Blue Flood Dragon no matter what. It just so happened that there were countless powerful sea beasts in the boundless sea as allies. Maybe he could use the power of the sea beasts to deal a heavy blow to the Central's forces. How is it? Do you have any clues after watching it? The clown sea serpent's eyes showed a look of eagerness. It had not seen these images before, and now that it saw them, it was even more anxious. The strength of those metal men was obviously beyond its imagination. Lin Yi nodded solemnly and said, "That's right, it's the same as what I guessed before. These people are members of an organization called the Central. I'm not sure why they came to kidnap your royal family member, but we have the same goal of saving it." The clown sea serpent was slightly stunned, and then asked, "From what you said, it seems like you also have some kind of grudge with the Central?" "That's right." Lin Yi did not hide anything. In order to gain the trust of the sea beasts, there was nothing to hide. "I've always been fighting with this organization, but both sides basically have their own concerns and trump cards, so they haven't completely destroyed each other. This time, they obviously have some big plan. If I hadn't accidentally discovered it, I would definitely be in an extremely passive position in the future." After hearing what Lin Yi said, the clown sea serpent was indeed much more relieved. As the saying went, the enemy of an enemy is a friend. Although it could not completely trust Lin Yi, the clown sea serpent felt that Lin Yi did not seem to be lying. "Then, you should know where the nest of this so-called central organization is, right? Their combat power seems to be very strong. How many nascent soul stage sea beasts do you need me to gather and go with you to destroy their nest? Is 300 enough?" Cold sweat broke out on Lin Yi's forehead. 300 nascent soul stage sea beasts? Are they going to turn the ancient small Jianghu upside down? However, thinking about the huge number of sea beasts in the endless sea, 300 nascent soul stage sea beasts did not seem to be a lot. You also know that if we, the sea beasts, leave the endless sea, our strength will be greatly reduced, so we can only ask for help from those amphibious sea beasts. This is the number that can be transferred for now. If we need more, we can only wait for a few more days, but I'm afraid that it won't be able to wait that long," the clown sea serpent said with a slightly worried tone. As for it, it was obviously referring to the Blue Flood Dragon that had been captured. Lin Yi smiled and said, "Since they insist on capturing your royal member alive, I think they won't kill it easily. It shouldn't be a problem to delay it for a few days. The key is that this time, we must be sure to kill it in one shot." There can't be any accidents. You're right. No matter what, we must be safe and not let it get hurt. The clown sea serpent hurriedly nodded in agreement with Lin Yi's opinion. Then, he asked, then how much combat power do you need? I'll make arrangements as soon as I report it. Lin Yi thought about it seriously. In fact, 300 nascent soul stage sea beasts were enough to sweep the ancient small Jianghu. The central center had not been in the ancient small Jianghu for too long. Even if they could mass-produce nascent soul stage experts, they wouldn't have so many materials. Therefore, there was no need to increase the number of sea beasts. However, Lin Yi did not have any information about the location of the central center's base in the ancient small Jianghu. He needed time to find it. Moreover, he could not give up on the ancient meeting just like that. Therefore, after thinking about it, Lin Yi replied, theoretically, 300 nascent soul stage sea beasts should be enough. However, I think that the central center might have more than one base. The cunning rabbit has 3 burrows, so we might need more troops to attack. How many can you gather in 3 days? Chapter 5604. Genius 1 second. Remember if you want to go? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Lin Yi smiled bitterly in his heart. Thousands of amphibious nascent soul stage sea beasts in 3 days? If they really wanted to live on land, would there still be a place for humans in the ancient underworld? It was also because the sea beasts usually went their own way and didn't unite to invade the mainland that humans could live peacefully in the small Jianghu of the ancient times. But now, because of the sea beast royal clan, these scattered sea beasts had gathered together. What the Central was doing was really inhumane. Thousands should be enough. 3 days is still necessary. I won't hide it from you. I'm not very clear about the location of the Central's lair and sub-base. How about this, you use these 3 days to mobilize troops, and I'll use it to scout. Neither side will be delayed. Lin Yi said with a frank face. In order to ruin the Central's plan, he had to separate from the sea beasts first. Lin Yi also had to be honest with the clown sea serpent. The clown sea serpent's slender eyes stared coldly at Lin Yi, and Lin Yi also looked at the clown sea serpent without blinking. After a while, the clown sea serpent nodded and said, I believe you, but I'll give you 3 days at most. You go find the location, and I'll prepare enough troops. In addition to thousands of nascent soul stage sea beasts, there will be at least tens of thousands of golden core stage amphibious sea beasts and more than 100,000 foundation establishment stage sea beasts as backup. Of course, it might not even take 3 days. Do you understand what I mean? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. You've made it so obvious, how can I not understand what you mean? The clown sea serpent believed Lin Yi now, but if Lin Yi dared to lie to the clown sea serpent, then these amphibious sea beasts would completely drown the entire ancient underworld. In other words, they would carry out a massacre of the human race in the ancient underworld. No matter how powerful Lin Yi was, it was impossible for him to fight against all the sea beasts in the endless sea. If there were not enough amphibious sea beasts, it was not impossible to temporarily drown the ancient underworld with the water of the endless sea. In that case, let's not waste any more time. Lin Yi patted the flying spirit beast he was riding on, and it began to slowly rise into the sky. I'll go back first. Prepare the people on your side and gather at the coast of the primordial mountain range. It's a deal. I will immediately report this matter to the royal family. I hope you can bring me good news. The clown sea serpent raised its head to look at Lin Yi in the sky. After nodding slightly, it watched Lin Yi's flying spirit beast turn around and fly back quickly. After Lin Yi left the clown sea serpent, he immediately released Yu Taitsong's primordial spirit that was imprisoned in the space of the jade pendant. With the soul-hooking hand, Lin Yi was not worried that Yu Taitsong could escape from his control. Elder Yu, we meet again. The corner of Lin Yi's mouth curled up. He smiled faintly and said, I've let you out today to give you a chance. I hope you can grasp it well. Tell me the specific location of the center of the primordial underworld, and I'll let your primordial spirit go. After Yu Taitsong's primordial spirit came out, it looked a little illusory. After listening to Lin Yi's words, Yu Taitsong's face showed a look of grief and indignation. Lin Yi, don't pretend here. My physical body has been destroyed. Even if you let my primordial spirit go, I'm afraid it won't take long for it to dissipate. Do you think I'll believe your nonsense? Hee hee, what a joke. Lin Yi shrugged indifferently. I didn't destroy your physical body. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for finding some stupid teammates. Also, as long as you cooperate, I will consider preserving your primordial spirit. With a suitable physical body, it's not impossible to give you a chance to possess it. The specific details still depend on your performance. What? Yu Taitsong's heart, which had already been in despair, was immediately tempted after hearing the conditions that Lin Yi offered. As long as he could survive, it didn't seem impossible to cooperate with Lin Yi. Yu Taitsong was incessantly tempted by Lin Yi's proposal, but after thinking it over, he still said with some hesitation, "How can I believe your words? Let's not talk about the fact that I'm like this because of you. Just talking about the possession you proposed, is a suitable physical body so easy to find?" Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "You yourself said that you're like this because of me. Don't tell me you're still worried that I can't find a suitable physical body for you?" This sentence was still very convincing. Yu Taitsong thought about it and felt that it was true. Lin Yi had such magical means. Locking up other people's primordial spirits was like playing around. It really wasn't difficult to get a few physical bodies without primordial spirits. Love Go Little Say Netkuit was just that possession was not such an easy thing. The ancient small Jianghu originally focused on the cultivation of spiritual awareness. Yu Taitsong naturally had a deep understanding of possession. After thinking a little, he continued, "Even if you can find a suitable physical body for me, have you considered the difficulty of possession? Don't be so long-winded. I'm giving you this opportunity. Whether you can grasp it or not is your own business. It doesn't matter if you don't accept it. At most, I'll have to work hard to devour your primordial spirit, and then look for any memories related to the sender." Lin Yi began to talk nonsense with an impatient face. Chapter 5605. Genius 1 second. Remember, if you want to go. TalkNet, providing you with wonderful novels to read. The soul-hooking hand could indeed completely pull out a person's soul, but there was no way to do so for a remnant powerful divine sense. If Yu Taitsong's soul had left his body by itself, it would be much stronger and more complete. Seizing such a body would be much easier. Unfortunately, he was forcibly pulled out by Lin Yi, so he was innately lacking. If he wanted to seize a body, the probability of failure was more than 60 to 70%. Even if Yu Taitsong's luck was off the charts and he had a small chance of succeeding in seizing a divine sense, once it formed a divine sense tumor, he was dead for sure. Lin Yi had no way to completely refine those divine sense tumors even with the divine sense fruit, let alone Yu Taitsong. Yu Taitsong saw that Lin Yi did not speak, but instead seemed to be lost in thought. His heart slightly calmed down. At least Lin Yi did not directly devour his soul, so there was still room for discussion. Yu Taitsong, who had a plan in his heart, immediately said, "You really are lying to me." "Humph. Let me tell you, I would rather have my soul scattered like this than let you have your way." After saying this, Yu Taitsong, who had a face of facing death with equanimity, immediately prepared himself. If Lin Yi showed a trace of impatience, he would immediately change his words. No matter how small the probability of successfully seizing a body was, as long as there was a chance, there was hope. It was much better than dying right now. Lin Yi did not care about Yu Taitsong's words, because he was completely clear about Yu Taitsong's thoughts. This was a person who was willing to follow Shui Jianfeng to participate in the central experiment in order to improve his strength. If he was really as unyielding as he appeared, it was obvious that he would not accept this kind of arrangement. "That's right. I think of a suitable body." Lin Yi's eyes suddenly lit up. After snapping his fingers, he said with a smile, "I can give you a physical body with no difficulty at all." However, I have to make it clear first. Once you choose this physical body, you can only listen to me in the future. Yu Taitsong was instantly agitated, thinking to himself that he really had to put on a tough front in order to obtain benefits from Lin Yi's hands. This brat was really unscrupulous. If he didn't force him a little, he wouldn't have taken out such a suitable physical body. Let me take a look at the condition of that physical body first. Yu Taitsong very well concealed the excitement in his heart and said with an indifferent face. Lin Yi didn't say anything and directly took out little one's physical puppet from the space in the jade pendant and showed it to Yu Taitsong. This was what Lin Yi had left in the secular world to protect everyone when he went to Heaven's Stage Island. However, without Lin Yi's direct control, this puppet basically could not be controlled. It was quite scary to put it in the villa. After all, this puppet was no different from a corpse if it did not move. Therefore, when Lin Yi came back this time, he conveniently put little one into the space in the jade pendant. He thought that if there was a chance in the future, he could upgrade it and make use of the waste. He didn't expect that it would come in handy now. This physical body is a puppet that I refined before. There is no power of spiritual sense inside. You can very smoothly seize it without wasting any power of spiritual sense. The success rate is almost 100%. The only drawback is that the strength of this physical body is relatively low. Lin Yi pointed to little one and briefly introduced it. Before he finished, he was interrupted by Yu Taitsong, whose eyes were shining. Great! This is simply a body tailor-made for me. The degree of compatibility with my spirit is actually close to perfect. Yu Taitsong no longer cared about pretending to be reserved. After using his divine sense to scan the small one puppet, he almost drooled. The most important thing about possession was the degree of compatibility between the spirit and the physical body. The difficulties mentioned before were not even far in terms of compatibility. If the degree of compatibility was less than 50%, even if the possession was successful, not to mention that the strength could not be restored to 30% of its peak, even the lifespan would be greatly reduced. At any time, it could be inexplicably finished. It was no wonder that Yu Taitsong drooled after seeing little one. A physical body possession with a degree of compatibility close to perfect was simply something that could only be encountered by chance. Lin Yi actually took it out so casually. Should it be said that Lin Yi was amazing? Or that Yu Taitsong's luck was off the charts? Lin Yi looked at Yu Taitsong, who was so excited that he could barely contain himself. He said with a faint smile, "You have to consider it clearly. Because this is my puppet, so after the possession is successful, you must listen to my orders. Because your life and death is completely in my hands. Don't regret it when the time comes, it will be too late." Yu Taitsong was too excited. He actually looked at Lin Yi with disdain and said in a disdainful tone, "You speak as if my life and death is not in your hands." Lin Yi was taken aback. He was speechless. This Yu Taitsong, why did he speak such great truths for no reason? And it was so reasonable. After Yu Taitsong finished speaking, he felt that he was somewhat stupid. This was a master who could decide his life and death with a thought. How could he use such a tone and manner to speak? Did he feel that he didn't have enough shoes to wear in the future? Therefore, Yu Taitsong hurriedly piled up a flattering smile, moving closer to Lin Yi to remedy the situation. Then, "From now on, you are my master. Do you think I should start the possession now?" As long as he could survive, no matter if he was a puppet or a servant, there would always be a chance to turn things around in the future. Right now, it was better to compromise first. Yu Taitsong encouraged himself in his heart, the smile on his face becoming more and more brilliant. Lin Yi coughed dryly, waving his hand and said, "You can begin the possession." Before his voice faded, Yu Taitsong was like an athlete who had heard the starting gun. With a whoosh, he leapt out and directly entered little one's body. That fiery and impatient appearance as well as the posture of a fierce dog pouncing on its food made Lin Yi speechless. "Just possession, can't you be a little more elegant?" Yu Taitsong did not care about any bullshit elegance. After losing his corporeal body, only then did he know the importance of the corporeal body. If he did not quickly seize the body and Lin Yi went back on his words, who would Yu Taitsung find to reason with? But thinking again, if Lin Yi went back on his words, even if the possession was successful, at most he would use the soul hooking hand again. It seemed that Yu Taitsung still had no place to reason with. The process of possession was not earth-shattering or radiant. Instead, it was quite quiet. To put it in a more artistic way, it was like going with the wind into the night, silently nourishing everything. Little one, this puppet, had no spiritual sense power in its body at all, so Yu Taitsung very smoothly gained control of it. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.